to ensure that parking is inclusive of any new development in New York City. That resolution was tabled because many community boards within Brooklyn had not reviewed the City of Yes proposal. Some of you, it's very clear to some of you, or some of you don't know, there are two community boards in Brooklyn, Community Board 18 and Community Board 1, who have voted no on the City of Yes. We will have to make a decision tonight on the City of Yes. And please note that tonight is just a voting and not a representation of last month. So people have an opportunity to vote. And while I'm saying that, well, I'll come to that at the end. There's a big issue with the Shirley Chisholm Recreational Center. The issue is that in the spirit of Shirley Chisholm, there's $141 million given to create, design, and construct a recreational center. Unfortunately, a lot of the Black-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, Black-owned businesses, they're not getting a lot of contracts. I was in a meeting yesterday in the mayor's office with a number of commissioners and the deputy mayor in talking about that. So far, $108 million have been awarded, and when you look at the numbers, I didn't get the exact numbers, but you start seeing that the number of contracts that were given to MWBEs are not there. And we're working to see what changes can be made to improve upon that. Lastly, in terms of the MWBE, there's still $5 million or more, but as of right now, the number is $5 million for contracts for our community. And I'm sorry, just need to pull this up. I did open this. There are a number of positions, right? There are a number of positions available, not positions, opportunities for bidding within our own constituents, in our own community. And so they're still open up. You have over the next couple of months to do so. Not only that, but for those people who have companies that are MWB, that are not MWBEs, and you want to be an MWBE, MWBE stands for Minority Black Women and Business Enterprises, right? Minority Women Business Enterprises. So if you have a company, you're not there yet, you might not be able to build on the $10, $15 million contract, but you can build on the $200,000, $300,000, $400 contract. There are opportunities over the next couple of months, both from the Community Board office, Councilmember Farrah Lewis's office, and Assemblymember Rodney's Bichat office. So if you know anyone, if you own a business and would like to participate to bid on a contract, that is there. Okay. Yesterday, we had the opportunity to visit, for those of you who've been on the board for a while, know of our former chairman, Lloyd Mills. And we were able to present him with a plaque for his years of service to the board. He, is not doing very well, but well enough to entertain and enjoy and have good laughter with some of the members, former members, current members of the board and the district manager and myself. Finally, tomorrow is Juneteenth, right? So again, I'm not going to go to the history of Juneteenth, but just know that it's a very important day in the history of slavery and the freedom of, I hate to use the word freedom, but it is what it is. It's the last day that there was a slave, quote unquote, in Texas. And now it has become a national holiday under President Joseph Biden. And so it gives you an opportunity to celebrate. So please go out and do something. There are many things happening within the different council member districts, within the Congress district, among other things that each one of us can take the time out and do. Once I find I'm actually just looking for the list of the opportunities, but I'm not going to go through that now. Once I find it, I'll try to get it out to the board members. Or if you are interested in what availabilities there are, please do let us know. With that, I thank you very much. And just a couple of reminders for today. We are going to stick to the 2-minute rule, right? We're going to stick to it. The agenda is long. We have elections. And whatever questions you have, concerns you have, please write it down. Please note, Robert's rule is you get one turn to speak before everybody else gets to speak. And we're going to adhere to the time frame on the agenda. In order to move that, to pass that agenda for discussion, it must be voted on. Somebody has to ask for the time to be extended. Okay, that's Robert's rules. So let's say the thing says 15 minutes. At 15 minutes, all discussion is over. That's how it works. Okay, if you want to extend the time, a member of the community board has to move the motion to extend the time further than whatever time it says. And again, please note, 2 minutes. Write down your thoughts before you come up. All right, any questions for the chair? Seeing none, our district manager Frazier.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you,
Good
Mr.
evening.
Chair. It really was a pleasure visiting one of our former chair, Mr. Mills, yesterday. I really enjoyed that visit. He has really contributed a lot to the board and the community as a whole. This is our last public hearing and general meeting for fiscal year 2024. And in the interest of time, I will not give a recap of our successes and our setbacks over the year. But what I will do is express my sincere thanks to you, the residents who made it your duty to attend our monthly meetings, whether online or in person. Your participation and willingness to serve really is commendable. I'm also appreciative of all the hard work the various committees have done over the years. My heartfelt thanks to the members of Community Board 17. We are paid employees in the office. They do give of their time, they volunteer during this time of constant change in our community and uncertainty. And so we are very thankful for their optimism and their reassuring and their enthusiasm, and most of all, their selfless service. Their example continue to inspire me, as the manager, and that is what makes great volunteers. So members, thank you so much for your service to the community. As we close off fiscal year 2024, please remember the office remains open. There will be no meeting in July and August unless there's an emergency meeting planned, but there will be no meetings in July and August. However, the office remains open to assist the residents of this district with any complaints. Feel free to give us a call, 718-434-3072. And please visit our social media platforms, our website, our Facebook and Twitter for a listing of all of our summer activities. We do have a number of activities planned for July and August. And I would like to publicly thank my staff in the board's office, especially Ms. Farah, our newly hired ADM. Over the past few months, we have been working diligently on upgrading our social media platforms, upgrading the office as a whole. And I look forward to working with all the staff to ensure that we are ready to go, running in September. So again, thank you all as we continue to work over the summer. For us, we have to complete the capital and expense budget. Please make sure that you submit your requests to the board early so we have an opportunity to review and get all of the needs of our community included in our fiscal year budget. Again, thank you. Thank you so very much for what you do on behalf of Community Board 17, Community District 17. Thank you very much.
Are there any questions for the district manager? Chair James.
District Manager Fraser, there is currently a vacant position at the Community Board's office. And you and I have been on the board for many, many years. At the last meeting, you represented to the board that efforts are being made to get monies from the borough president to help increase the salary paid to whoever the new employee will be. My question to you, in the 20+ years that you and I have been on the board, has Community Board 17 ever received money from Borough Hall for operating purposes?
No.
Thank you.
However, I believe Mr. Daly spoke about a meeting we had in the board's office. And that was a conversation that was had between Mr. Daly in my presence, Mr. Daly and the HR director about looking into ways that we can get an increase. So I'm saying it's not unusual for elected officials to fund some community boards, some needs of the community board. That can be one area. I don't know if that's possible for us, but that's a conversation that we're having. A matter of fact, Ms. Daly and I had a conversation about it this evening before we came to this meeting. So it's something that I'll be looking into.
But as far as we're aware, the borough president has never given Community Board 17. And we do know we have a new HR director, relatively new, who may or may not be aware of the fact that, unless they're going to take the money from the budget.
Right, that has happened, I know, with other
That's
community
never happened
boards.
to give to Community Board
No,
17.
not the Community Board 17.
Okay,
But it's
so
a
I just think the
conversation.
board needs to be aware that we have a vacancy that has not been filled, hoping and praying that the borough's president's office is going to come with money, which may or may not be realized, which is very unfair. The fact is we have an high employment rate in East Flatbush, and we have a vacant position. I just wanted to state that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. James. And again, as the district manager that runs the office, we are working on upgrading. There are so many things that are happening right now. If we look at the minutes, you have AI working on minutes. That's part of the 3 or 4 days of responsibility for one staff that can be done now within an hour, half an hour. We have so many, upgrades that's happening, and I understand the need. You said the need for a new staff, that a vacancy exists. I'm thankful that the funds that we had in this fiscal year budget has really enabled the board to do an upgrade in the office. So that funds was used to make our lives, the staff, the present staff lives, a little more comfortable. So bringing in another staff this year, we would not have had that fund to do what we did. This is an ongoing discussion that I intend to have with the board as we go along and look at our funding and see if it's possible for us to have another full-time staff based on the need of the office and the needs of the community that we serve. Thank you.
Wait, I'm sorry, Chair James.
We need a person.
Thank you, Ms. James.
So can I just, I want to address that for a moment. Wait, Wait, I'm sorry, Ms. Grandison. I just want to address that. I just said, we're going to try to follow Robert's rules. Robert's rules dictate that you come up, you cannot just blurt out, right? You cannot just blurt out. You have to have the floor to speak. And I understand that some things you might have more passion, right? But it is important that we understand we conduct the meeting so we do not have too much time. Chair Grandison, you have the floor. Use the mic, please.
Ms. Frazier, you mentioned that for the next board session that committees may have to be in person back in the office. Has that been confirmed as?
Not confirmed as yet. It's a conversation I intend to have with the Borough President's office. And yes, the members will be notified before we resume session in September. But it's a conversation, I intend to have that conversation. And it's for, not only for the reasons that we may have to return in person, but I believe the upgrade of the office is to make it more welcoming and comfortable for the staff. As you've seen, for those of you who visited, we were preparing to relocate. The boxes are all over. We were told to relinquish our cabinets. So we started preparing to move, and then we lost the space. It's very uncomfortable working in the office, and that's why I'm so appreciative that we had that funding to assist us to bring the office back up to a level of comfort where we could work and perform the duties of the board and the community at large. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Committee reports. We have budget. Mr. Cabe, Chair McCabe.
Good evening. I'm Dan McCabe, Chair of the Budget Committee. I'm mostly just reiterating what Ms. Fraser mentioned. Over the summer break, we have to really think about the community district needs, which includes both all the committees' narratives of what's going on in their particular area and individual projects that the committees and the community are thinking about funding for next year. I'm sorry, Ms. Fraser, are those forms available in the back today? I didn't look. Okay, so there are forms, they'll be made available. You could contact the community board for them, and it's a pretty simple sheet to identify projects that you might want to see happen in the next year. You know, redo a playground, put a speed bump in the middle of a street, you know, we need a street light here or a stop sign there, these type of projects. More inclusive than that, but that's the gist. And so over the break, I hope all the committees have been thinking about this and all the community members, and just look out or contact the board for the forms to submit over the summer, and that really gets underway in October in the fall. Thank you.
All right, thank you. In my report, I mentioned several MWB opportunities. So let me just tell you what they are and the deadline. So you have gymnasium equipment. That means full installation of the equipment related to gymnasium. This is it's the deadline for that would be June 28th, but we could work around the deadline. Signage, if you know somebody who does signage, both the fabrication and the installation of egress and wayfinding signature, ornamental work, general enclosure, millwork, including kitchens and vanities. So that means you furnish and install the kitchen cabinets and vanities. Canopy, furnish and install metalwork that comprises the entry canopy. Modern fold and other operable partitions. furnish and install room divide and partitions and conference rooms, interior spray and parapet, provide, apply insulation behind precast and concrete parapet walls, and finally, they have window shades. So finish and install roll shades. So some of these opportunities are still available under the MWBE. So, and their deadlines here and the date, and you could find out some of them are coming up by the end of the month, some of them in the middle of July, and some of them by the end of July, beginning of August. All right. With that being said, commerce. Pardon me? Okay. Education and youth.
Good evening. Just quickly, I want to remind everyone of Youth Happening on Thursday, August 1st at Prodgate Park. Please spread the word. We're also still looking for donations or anything that you can provide. You can reach out to the board office, to Ms. Lyons, Ms. Farah or Ms. Frazier, and let them know. And also, our spelling bee has been rescheduled, and the date is October 14th, and it will be held at Crystal Ray High School. We're going to send out more information around this within the coming weeks. So if it's open to any child in Community Board 17 that goes to school, lives in the district also. So if you're interested, please spread the word. We'll get the information out. Or if you don't get an email around it, just please reach out to the board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, youth happening. Did you talk about youth happening? I didn't hear. Isn't it? Never mind. Housing and Block Association. Oh, ooh, sorry. Land use.
Good evening, everybody. Just wanted to report that on or about May 24th, the Shirley Chisholm Recreation Center conducted a top and off ceremony. For those of us that aren't familiar with the construction industry, that typically means that the final beam of support was installed ceremoniously, signed by the iron workers on site, and is usually signified with the building's height. And it's usually planted with the American flag being put on the top of the building. So that's what you're seeing if you're driving down Forster. It means that the building is at its highest elevation and no more supporting beams will be installed. On or about June 6th, and I'm going to cease the rest of my time, the City of Yes Economic Opportunity, which we discussed prior, was voted on and passed by the City Council. It has been modified, though. We will be distributing that modified version once we get the text amendment out. I do believe that I could speak that it was restricted to having the corner stores built in the middle of the block, but a version of it has been approved and will be moving forward, which speaks to the importance of the meeting we conducted on June 6th, which was lengthy for those of us that were there. We discussed it at length and thoroughly. So I hope that we understand that tonight, that we are voting on the City of Yes CHO as it is. Although the survey that was distributed will color our response, you will be voting tonight on the plan as it stands today. And I need that to be clear. That ends my report.
All right, thank you very much. Parks and Beautification, followed by Public Safety and Transportation.
Good evening, all. Thank you for being here. Parks and Beautification Committee will have a big event on Friday, the 21st at Podium Park at 10 a.m. That will be a health and wellness fair. You will see this beautiful flyer up front. Please take one and pass it to your friends and family. Also, on that day, we will have an honoring ceremony. We will honor 3 of our members, Mr. George Ted, for his 32 years of volunteering his time is the community. So he will be honored, as well as Miss Linda Turner and Miss Jacqueline Williams. So if you are an elected officials or a member of the community who would like to be part of this honoring ceremony, please be there. Show them your love. Show them that volunteer in a community matters. Thank you.
Parks and beautification, followed by public safety, followed by sanitation and social services. You just went. Use that mic. Use this mic. No.
All right, good afternoon or good evening, everyone. Starting with transportation. In particular, I know everybody is concerned about the congestion pricing in terms of what's going to be happening in Manhattan from 60th Street all the way down to Lower Manhattan. It's proposed to have these additional fees to come into Manhattan. I think last week or 2 weeks ago, Governor Hochul ended up reneging on her promise in terms of support for the congestion pricing. While that is maybe somewhere of a start, the federal transportation board passed it. So right now, it's basically at a standstill, just maybe out of respect for the governor being one of the three parties that has to say yes to agree to it. But in particular, if she doesn't, it still could pass. So what that does for a lot of folks, if you travel into Manhattan for doctor's appointments or anything else, there's an additional cost. Right now, they're looking to push people towards the subway. We know the difficulty with the subway in terms of, some of the different incidents and, shootings and so forth. But if not, there are opportunities to receive some type of, not excuse, but a waiver for that fee, but you have to go through the entire application process at MTA, and I know that is going to be a very strenuous thing. So for the folks right now, it was supposed to start on June 30th. There's a couple more days coming up, we'll see. On public safety, now there were 2 events that I was a part of that were promoted by the Assemblywoman Monique Chandler Waterman. And in particular, it talked about the gun violence. In the past couple of weeks, especially in CB17, there have been a couple incidents. And as it's getting warmer, as it's getting hotter, people are tending to, not use their best judgment. What I would say, if you could avoid it, avoid the conflict. Leave the conflict. If you recognize somebody is not in the right frame of mind, the best thing to do is walk away, right? A lot of the time people are not coherent, they're not thinking, they have a weapon, something happens, and, there's an issue. So what was brought up is that there has been a lot of money paid or given to a lot of these gun violence programs and reduction. And what I brought up is that that is good, but what happens once the young people reach the age of accountability, 18, 19, 20, 21, when it's time for them to transition into a career, where are the opportunities then? It's nice to have an after-school program. It's nice to have all of these things, but once you become an adult, you gotta leave those childish things behind. And on top of that too, there is no help for the parents the guardians who might also need some type of assistance in order to further themselves. So I brought that up as a point because a lot of time and effort has gone into these after-school programs on gun violence, but very few, only one person talk about workforce development. And that is the key thing. Economics and finance will change the trajectory. So that ends my report.
Thank you. Again, we only have, I think, about 7 minutes left in this session. So sanitation, environmental, followed by social services, followed by personnel. Again, please try to keep your report brief. If you can, 1 minute or less.
Good evening, everyone. Michael Hill for the Sanitation and Environmental Committee. I don't have anything significant to report other than the sanitation issues that have been previously discussed in the past are still issues. I've made some attempts to reach out to our elected officials, Ms. Farrah Lewis's office and Ms. Waterman's office, and I still have yet to be able to communicate with them. It seems like at this point that they're going to be the only ones that can make a difference in this regard. And I really hope to be able to speak with them in the near future to address these issues. And if they're not interested in addressing these issues, then maybe we need to vote in some new people that's going to meet the challenge and take care of the issues that we need to taken care of, because it's not happening. It's a big problem. It's been a big problem for years. And I've just gotten to a point where I think it's really evident to everyone that we need to get some new people in those positions if they're not going to do what they're supposed to do. And that's it.
Thank you, Chair Hill. We have, again, social services. I didn't see Chair Oni. Oh, Chair Hill, I guess when you get a moment, Councilmember Lewis is in the back. I know you said that you try to reach out to her and she pointed a staff member that can do that for you. Personnel is not here. Okay. So let's just do that. We'll come back to that. Postal services, ad hoc committees, postal services. Communications.
I yield the floor.
Bylaws. Brookdale Cab. Yeah, Brookdale Cab is next. Is Chair Reed here? I don't see her. And so Chair James, you could do both bylaws and zoning.
Okay, good evening, everyone. With regard to the bylaws, the only pending issue right now is waiting to hear from City Council, the Council of New York City as to whether or not it was in violation of the city charter to require that anybody who runs for office be a resident of the community. The chair was asked to follow up on this issue. I have not gotten any comments from the chair as to what was the response from the Council of New York City. With regard to rezoning, on June 27th, we're hoping to have a town hall meeting, which will be conducted by Brooklyn Level Up. I ask that you kindly put it in your calendar to be able to attend. We should receive some more information by the end of the week, but that is a meeting, a town hall meeting to discuss the level of development going on in our community, the destruction of homes and the housing issue. How is it we can preserve our community while at the same time addressing our community needs. It was mentioned earlier about workforce development. I just want to bring you to attention that there will be a training session
session, Advanced Training in Construction Technology. And that is to help prepare persons in the community to be able to work in various trades. The whole idea behind this, and this is free. The whole idea behind this is to, I think it's 75 persons who will have the opportunity to be trained on site with qualified contractors as to how to be able to work in the various trades and hopefully get the opportunity to join the unions. So I encourage you, at the back of the table, you'll see this flyer, pick it up. If you know a young person, man or woman, who doesn't have a career, does not have a job, and is looking for the opportunity, this is free workforce development in the construction industry. Thank you.
Okay, just to add something to the workforce development, I think the original date was June 26th, Chair James? You have June 26th on that flyer? For the workforce development, is that same one? Okay, all right, so it's a different thing. That's fine. So there was a workforce development piece that also went out with the MWBE component, and it was scheduled for June 26th. They have postponed the date, and I think council member, did you get the new date for when they're gonna do the workforce development that was discussed in the meeting yesterday? They didn't send it, right? Okay, all right. So please look out for that email. You know, somebody's looking for a job, continuing workforce development. We've mentioned a few things. So I hate to say it, but we've mentioned a few things. So if you know somebody's looking for a job and they're not reporting to a board, council member, are they really looking for a job? So we want to work on that. The first vice chair, just quickly, we did a little ad hoc thing to talk about this year end event. So we're going to give it to first vice chair Cunningham to talk about that.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Asher Cunningham. So I'm reporting on our end of the year mixer. It's open to all board members and elected officials within our community. The event is on June 25th from 7:30 until 10 p.m. We have finally confirmed a location. It will be at Sugared, and we would like to publicly thank Sugared for actually opening the space to us to have this end of year mixer free of charge. They've closed off the entire location, and we have this event where we will all come together, board and elected officials, to meet and just to get to know each other. There's a few things that will be happening, and community partners. There's a few things that will be happening at the event. We saw it fit that for all of the years that some members have contributed to the board, and we think it would be best to actually honor board members who have served on the board for 5 years or more and have served in leadership positions. So there will be some honorees who would be honored on that night. So please come out. There will be an RSVP link that will be sent out from Ms. Frazier or Ms. Farah this week. So we need to see your RSVPs as soon as that link is sent out. So that's it. Please RSVP. It's next Tuesday at 7:30 until 10 p.m. Please come out, and we're hoping to see you. And also, I would like to thank the committee, Melanie, Trisha, and Kamara, who's working together on this event for you next week. So hoping to see you all next week, Tuesday.
All right, thank you. Agency report. Yes.
Requires a treasurer's report. Has it been presented for the night? It's specifically written in the bylaws.
Yes.
The treasurer is required to present a report in June.
Treasurer Lewis, do you have a report? Okay. We got agency report. Deputy Inspector. Can I get the list with the agencies, please?
Hi, good evening, everyone. I am Deputy Inspector Rachel Kosak. I don't know if I just hit the mouse here. I apologize if I did. I'm newly assigned to the 67th precinct. I've been there about, I might have hit something. Is that me or someone else?
No, no.
Yes, thank you.
Yep. Now we're good. All right, try that. Okay, the mouse is right there and I moved my hands too much. Like I said, Deputy Inspector Rachel Kosak, I'm the new commanding officer here in the 67th precinct. I've been here about a month and a half now, so I'm still settling into the neighborhood. Prior to this, I was the commanding officer of the 63rd precinct, which is just the precinct to the south of the 6-7 precinct. Like I said, just familiarizing myself still. Just over the last month and a half or so, I would say we have seen an uptick in crime, some truly unfortunate, notable events that have happened throughout the precinct, Church Avenue, Flatbush Gardens. Just something for everyone to know, though, what we have seen, though, as a result of that is an influx of officers. We've had officers deployed in addition to our normal 67th precinct officers. We have some of our younger cops out there, as well as additional officers that are being sent down daily into those neighborhoods to hopefully help quell that violence. And I don't know if they're going to tell me not to do this, but like I said, I am somewhat familiarizing myself still. So are there any issues that anybody or topics that anybody wants to bring up that I should see as a concern as I do settle in? This is our last meeting before the summer, so I'd hate to wait until September to pick up on some of these.
Wait, I'm sorry. Two things. Before you can ask a question, I need to know if she's finished her report and then,
I did, yeah.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
and then if you're going to speak and to come to the mic, state your name and affiliation. Are there any other questions? Only 3 minutes. I heard you. I got you.
They gave me the time, that's why I tried to
Step
keep
to the
that
mic,
brief.
please. Step to the mic, please.
Okay. Hello.
I'm sorry, not you. You have a questions, right? Please step to that mic right there.
All right.
Go ahead.
So, hello, my name is Jabril Morris, community board member. I've seen a rising trend since that smoke shops have been closing in the neighborhood. They're just opening up a table right in front of the shops. Is this going to be the trend for the summer? And is there any steps to that, or are they just in like a loophole area right now?
So far, we've closed, I think it's about 5 smoke shops. So what the city did was, prior to us, it was the sheriff's department that had the ownership of going into the smoke shops to shut them down. They've deputized some of the NYPD officers to go out there and shut them down. So it's a citywide issue. I think they said, obviously, everyone knows that. I think there's something about 2,800 smoke shops citywide right now. Obviously, we take a good portion of that, but they're equally distributed throughout the city. I did notice that in one area that it's popping up, but it's really going to depend on what they're selling, I would say, at this point. So that's something we're going to have to monitor as this goes on. You know, even just the smoke shops as they've popped up along the way, we're learning as we go.
All right, thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Chair Prasad, then you.
Good evening, Inspector. Welcome to the community.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to see a woman up there.
Thank you.
As the chair of the Commerce Committee, there's always an issue with unlicensed establishments in the community. Before Inspector Cityville left, he was working on Lotus Lounge. And I know Ms. Martinez Fiante would agree with me on this. Please, we need some assistance, whether it's enforcement, whether it's shutting that establishment down. They've been operating for years without a liquor license, and it's so unfair to the establishments that have their license.
So prior to Inspector Saliba leaving, he did get that process rolling. He brought in the Vice Enforcement Division, and that is in the works. I can't give you a timeline on it. It's really going to depend on the judges at that point.
Okay.
But that is already in the works, I assure you.
Thank you very much. I
All right.
appreciate that.
Hi, welcome. I'm
Your
very
name.
Kimberly Shelley. I am a resident as well as a community member.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the name.
Kimberly, last name is Shelley.
Thank you.
Welcome, as I
Thank you.
said. My concern is the amount and the number of men and women that are coming from the shelters in the surrounding area, and particularly on Utica Avenue by Citibank, McDonald's, from Linden, to Clarkson Avenue. We have men that are walking in the street, exposing themselves. We have women that are urinating in between cars, in front of homes, property that people, that live there, children play. And it's more and more of the the patients that are coming from Kingsborough, could be coming from Linden Boulevard. I know there's also a hospital-like shelter there on 49th Street and Linden Boulevard. It's too much. They're coming into our backyards. They are hanging out at the corner, and they're very threatening in terms of their appearance. We're talking about 6 feet and above, and they're very hostile in nature. We have someone that is living, it looks like, on a bench in front of the post office on Utica and Lenox Road. And he's clearly has some mental issues going on. So I'm afraid, and quite a few people are afraid in the community.
So that's a multifaceted question. One, if anyone's being hostile towards you, make sure that if you call, that's not a 311 complaint, make sure that's going into 911, describe the behavior, describe that you're being threatened. It changes how 911 prioritizes it and changes how the officers and when they're going to respond for that. In terms of somebody homeless, we'll get that before we walk out, just the exact location. If somebody is living on a bench or living basically anywhere on the street, we'll report that up to our overhead borough. And at that point, One Police Plaza will send out, or the city will send out a number of resources. So it'll come out with Department of Homeless Services, sanitation, police come out essentially just for security purposes, nothing else for, site security for the other agencies. But that will hopefully then move along the homeless person, and they will get the services offered to them to hopefully find them some shelter.
If we can get a police presence would be nice as well. Thank you.
Before I take the next question, I only saw one agency. So that means that she'll get the questions. Are there any other agencies in here? What, DDC? Okay. All right, so your question, and please, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute, all right? 1 minute.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 6-7 precinct.
Thank you.
My name is Venancia Colon. I'm a new board member as well as a resident in the
Welcome.
community. Thank you. On top of everything else, one of my concerns is with the new construction that's going on within the 6-7 precinct. I'm noticing that the car shops, the auto repairs and so forth, they've taken shop on residential streets. On numerous blocks, residential streets, you have mechanics that are actually uplifting cars. The cars stay overnight, they're double parked. No license plates, no identifiers, and it's really becoming a nuisance for the residents. Of course, parking is already tight, but then also you don't know it seems like there may be people sleeping in these cars.
Okay.
So it's very uncomfortable.
Do you have any specific locations that you want to give me that we can follow up with and see?
If you give that to one of
Okay,
your
we'll do
officers.
that on just a sidebar. Say,
All right.
actually, if you could grab one of the officers there, and we'll, there's a ton of auto body shops, especially when you go down Utica Avenue.
Yeah.
We actually just went out with sanitation recently, and there was an auto body shop that they were out of there. I was told for 9 years. They were no longer working out of the building. They were street level, and sanitation came in. They removed these concrete boulders that were there, tools and everything else. And the street, I went back again about a week later. It still looks like it should on a residential block, quite frankly.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Chair Cunningham?
Hello.
No, First Vice Chair Cunningham.
Congratulations, Deputy Inspector. My question to you is there a commitment from the NYPD and particularly this district for officers who are patrolling the street to look like and represent the demographics of the community? Because I've been seeing an increase of officers who don't particularly look like majority of the people in the community. And I just want to know if there's a commitment from the NYPD.
I think I might be one of those individuals, but I think I was selected. I will tell you though, just to touch on that, I do have 17 years with the police department. I have a very diverse background in terms of my investigative experience, my patrol experience. I've worked between Brooklyn and Queens, and I think I was selected based on my experience rather than obviously I don't reflect the majority of the community. I'm aware of that. But I hope that that's not a detriment to me working within the community. In terms of assignments to the precinct, I truly can't speak on how the Personnel Bureau does that. I do not, to my knowledge, think that the police department assigns based upon that. But I truly, I couldn't even answer the question, not to deflect from it, but, sometimes I think it's geographically, I like to think that they consider where we live prior to assigning us places. And obviously, neighborhoods generally reflect a certain community. So I think if they're drawing in people nearby, you're going to draw in people that generally will reflect the neighborhood. But obviously, that's not a steadfast rule.
You have the last question?
Thank you. My name is Keith Watkins. I live in the neighborhood and whatnot. I noticed that there was a stolen car with a child in it on Father's Day. They found them within an hour. That's amazing. It's a feel-good story. Today, around 138th, there was another incident just like that. They found them quickly, but is that a copycat thing?
You know what? I don't think so. I think it's just, not to say it's good luck when your car gets stolen, but I think it's even worse luck when it's, God forbid that, and I'm a parent, right? You jump out of the car, you run it real quick. Maybe I run to the mailbox. I'm always paranoid with that. I noticed the second one come over today because I get all the alerts citywide for those things. That's extremely, extremely rare. I can think of one other incident maybe in the last year or two where that happened. And that is an all hands on deck scenario when that does, because even God forbid that car gets, when you look in the back seat and you see who's back there, the individual might freak out and just dump the car somewhere. Now you have someone who can't call for help or anything like that. So that becomes we basically will grid out an area and cops will go block by block and then repeat block by block, waiting to see if we get, hits on the license plate, if we got the license plate, but that is rare. You picked up on that. I saw the second one today. Very unusual.
Yeah.
Very unusual.
Also, just the other half of that question is the missing persons trend and whatnot. Are you guys looking into mitigating or stopping, people from going missing, and or have you guys, do you guys have a plan in regards to missing persons?
From a precinct level, we're essentially dealing with the incidents as they occur. Anything larger than that, like I don't know if you're referring to maybe like a human trafficking type of incident.
Yeah.
That would be something that is, again, far above the precinct level. That would go to, we have NYPD units that work with federal agencies, and that would really fall under their realm.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And also thank you for the invite for on Friday to meet with the officers for the community. It's good to see them, to know that, the community and the officers are working together to make sure that we have a healthy community.
Yeah, no, thank you for coming by. We have a bunch of new officers, so he was able to speak to them right before they turned out on a Friday evening. So it's good to see that. And he got to see one of his neighbors, which is awesome. So, all right, thank you. I'm looking forward to working with everyone.
All right,
Thank you.
DDC.
Good evening, everyone. Grant Ewan from the Department of Design and Construction.
Maurice Duran from McKissick.
And so we are the agency that is managing the construction of the Shirley Chisholm Recreation Center. And just to start off with the MWBE aspect of the center, Chair, I really appreciate you highlighting those upcoming awards. And it sounds like you have the flyer. Are you guys going to post that on the website, or we have that as well? Okay, great. So that flyer, as the chair kindly mentioned, lists a lot of awards, their deadlines, and it also has the email to Marie's here. And that is what we're looking for. If you guys have referrals, if you guys know people in the community, if you have firms in mind, we are all ears. We want this to be a partnership with the community for these upcoming awards. We've really examined how we approach these awards, and we've been looking for more partnerships. For the last couple of months, we've met with community members, and through those meetings with the community leaders, they've highlighted firms that then led to direct interviews. The last 11 awards for the center have actually all gone to MBEs. So Black contractors in drywalling, painting, fencing. It just shows that partnership with the community pays dividends. That's what we're looking to do with these upcoming awards. So when that is linked to the community board's website, that email will be there. Please send any information you have, any referrals that you might have to that link. And yes, you mentioned the workforce event that was postponed. It was originally scheduled June 26th. Right now, we're working with community leaders to find out the exact right time of when we should host that date, when works best for the community. I guess now for general instruction notes that we've had in the last couple months.
We actually have a progress report that's either gonna go out, this week, Friday or early next week, and it's gonna highlight all of the stuff that we're doing on the project, whether it's MWBE, workforce, and everything that goes on. Currently, there's still no parking on Farragut Place between East 32nd and East 31st Street. On Foster Avenue, there's a little section of the street that's actually barricaded because they're continuing work, field work. Also, they're currently doing rebar, reinforcing steel on the 3rd floor. That's pretty much what's going on. And I'll send out updates every week, letting you know what's going on. If anyone's interested in being on the list and being updated, we can take your email addresses and I'll send them to you weekly.
Yeah, and so probably by, should I stop there or? Okay. Oh, great. So we've, probably by later this summer, you'll see it start to look like an actual recreation center. We'll be doing facade work. And so when you drive by, you won't see the bones of what is a great building. But also to highlight, just last week, we had a really great meeting with the 4th and 5th graders at a local school right next to the construction site.
Yes, 361.
And they're doing artwork that'll hang around the basketball court that's right at the site. That's probably our 20th or so community engagement meeting that we've had. But since I'm in a room with everybody here as a community leader, I'll take the opportunity, if anyone wants some meeting or if a certain committee, whether that be Parks and Beautification, land use, if you guys want an in-depth presentation, we have community leaders here, certainly, and our elected officials who've been strong advocates for more community engagement, more representation in the project. We'd love to be out in the community as much as possible, so we're all ears. I think we have, you guys have our emails, but we can also put them in the chat too, so you have it.
This way we can better get to know you beyond just the name there. All righty. So with that.
I'm not a ventriloquist. That's not me speaking. Okay. Well, that's, I think, all we have. And Chair, if you'd like to.
Questions? All right. Treasurer, as well as Public Safety and Transportation, what is being done by DDC in terms of the pre-qualification process for the contractors and as well as the mentor program that you have to be able to help contractors be able to gain access to these opportunities? This opportunity has passed in terms of the major parts of the contract, the MEP and so forth, which is the majority of the contract has passed to, other contractors who use their own MBEs or don't use MBEs at all. So what is being done by DDC to make sure that this doesn't happen again? Because our community is not seeing the vast majority of that 141 million. We're looking at 5 million from 141 million currently.
So on the mentorship program, yeah, that was a DDC program, and we're proud that the mayor's office is now spearheading that initiative. And again, I think we're open for any and all partnership. I know Chair Daley at the beginning of this meeting mentioned, certification opportunities. If there's any way we can lend support to that, be one of the many agencies that, procure things from MWBEs, we're happy to play a part. And then the mentorship program with the mayor's office, I think, does a great job uplifting firms. But on the pre-qualification process, how that goes, would you like to handle this, or maybe I'll?
Well, actually, neither of us handle the MWBE process. I can get that question answered for you. Hosni, I have your information and I can get that question answered for you.
Chair, Secretary Thomas, you had a question?
Yeah, first of all, thank you. I'm looking forward to the center. And I commend, reaching out to the community and the non-prime contracts. I am curious though, if either of you can tell me how many prime contracts have gone to local WMBEs?
By local, you mean?
I mean local. No.
Brooklyn? Zip
Yeah,
code?
Brooklyn, yeah.
Yeah, we can get information on zip codes.
Do you
and-
have that?
I.
You don't have that ready? No information on prime?
It will be in the progress report that we're gonna send out.
So I
Well,
think that information. would come
So
in this-
technically, I believe under prime, locally, in my meeting yesterday, one. So, yeah, if I, Assembly member, do you remember, Assembly member? Do you remember how many prime contracts they said yesterday in the meeting that was awarded to black or women, black? I think it was one, right? 1 out of 5.
Prime contract?
Yeah.
Prime?
Yes. Yeah, it's construction or design, because remember there are 2 components. Do you remember the number? Yeah, overall. Right.
I think.
So just real quick, 28%, the number that they gave between subcontract, and women and blacks and everybody that fall into their category. But the majority of that were, well, honestly, white woman firms, right? And I think there was 11 blacks in the subcontract at the higher level. Don't quote me on the exact numbers, but numbers were minuscule, right? When we looked at the overall numbers, I think the total amount was well, let me not give you that number, but that's the answer to the question that Secretary Thomas asked. It was 1, I believe it was just 1 that was given.
And I guess on when you break it down, well, maybe just to highlight the benefits of partnership being the last 11 awards going to MBEs, not MWBEs. So, Hispanic, Latin American, or Black-owned firms. That has come in the last 2 months after we've met with local elected officials and community leaders, hosted direct interviews. So we're looking for more opportunities like this. We think the upcoming awards, partnering with the community board, partnering with community leaders, highlighting those awards, getting referrals from the community will, again, pay dividends. So we're looking forward to more areas of partnership.
Thank you, and thank you for the continued communication. Thank you very much, Grant and Maurice. Did any committee, any agency walk in while they were speaking? Again, if you have a question, if you want to be on the list, if you know a company, please see them so you can get on the list. With that being said, I see 2 of our elected officials in the meeting. I know we're expecting Congresswoman Clarke as well. So I'm going to yield the floor for 3 minutes to Assemblymember Radis Vashot, followed by Councilmember Farah Lewis. Or do you want to, Councilmember, Assemblymember? You have the floor. Are you letting her go first, or you, okay. Councilmember Farah Lewis.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Chair and Board. I'm Councilmember Farah Lewis, representing District 45 in Brooklyn. I have a few updates to share with everyone. So I know that there's been several shootings in the district, particularly in the East 49th Church Snyder corridor, as well as by Flatbush Gardens. And I want to thank NYPD for their continued response to these particular shootings that we've had. I've been on several calls and outreach events with Assemblymember Waterman to address some of these shootings. And we also hosted a Take Over the Block, which is actually Amelia's district, but providing support to the community after Krishna Mill was murdered on Mother's Day. And we're very grateful the 83-year-old is back home safely, and she was shot 2 weeks ago, but she's back home safely and recovering. So I want to thank Deputy Inspector Kozak and her team for their support to put more vehicles and additional police presence, particularly in the Flatbush Gardens area. We're working with Assemblymember Waterman, Congresswoman Clarke, the Deputy Inspector, as well as the first Deputy Commissioner on some efforts to increase some additional police presence on Church and Utica, the 50s, as well as the 40s, starting this weekend to see what kind of changes we could see before we put additional efforts out there. So I just wanted to quickly highlight that. We launched our Safe Summer initiatives, supporting youth, making sure that they're signing up for job opportunities, internship opportunities. We did that at Nostrand Playground about 2 Saturdays ago, and it's going really well. I want to thank the Sheriff's Department. We inputted 12 smoke shops as some of the worst smoke shops in District 45. Of the 12, we had 9 that shut down, and those same 9 are now on the way or currently being padlocked. So I'm very grateful to the Sheriff's Office and to the New York State. And some of this information, you'll see it on social media where myself and my staff went to the smoke shops as they were closing them down, but the actual law didn't go into effect until 2 weeks after. But we were able to now get some of those smoke shops padlocked and closed. So we're very grateful for that. And I did hear one of our leaders mention the makeshift smoke shops that are being posted outside of former smoke shops. I think that we're trying to get a hold on that right now. So we've reached out to the Sheriff's Office because we have a couple of those happening around our district, and I'm pretty sure it's around the city from what I'm hearing from other members. And we're trying to see what we could do with our state legislators. But in addition, the Sheriff's Department is there for that as well. So I just wanted to quickly highlight that. If you look on our social media, and I'll make sure in September meeting we have it, most of the smoke shops in my East Flatbush section of my district, we're putting ammonia and bleach inside of the ingredients. So I spoke to parents, went to schools, went to churches to share with everyone, if you are engaging, participating, consuming, and purchasing items from particular smoke shops, this is what you're inhaling. This is what you're putting into your body. So if you see on any of our social media, the gallons of ammonia and bleach that are being put inside of particular items. I want to thank Chair Daley for joining myself, Assemblymember Bishop Hermelin, and Chief Ingrid Martin for a meeting with DDC, Lend-Lease, and McKissick yesterday at the mayor's office, basically holding everyone's feet to the fire to make sure that we meet our goal for MWBE participation. And I just want to put a point of clarification. There is a 5 million component left, but before that 5 million, there is MWBEs that did receive contracts. We just want to make sure that the remainder goes to the folks that we want for our area. So we're going to continue to hold their feet to the fire for that. And the new date for the workforce meeting that Lend-Lease wants to host with us, we will have that soon for everyone. I just wanted to quickly tell DDC, since you're here, thank you for being here. This is an initiative that we spoke about that you all would be coming to our community board meetings to inform everyone. But I do want to highlight Clarendon Library, that the Brooklyn Public Library is still closed because DDC needs to do its due diligence to make sure that the contractor returns back to finish the HVAC work that I gave millions of dollars for. So if they do not do that, it's gonna be a real problem with that contractor that I'm willing to take head on. So just want to note that for Commissioner Foley. Riseboro, and my office have been working for a couple of years on the Bethany senior houses. And the senior houses is almost at completion. The application process will start, and we ask them to come into the community to share the information about the application process. So they will be reaching out to the community board. You'll see some information in Caribbean Life and some of our local ethnic papers, radios, to make sure that our community is getting the first batch of applications in. So we'll keep you more informed on that. And Osni, I heard you talk about the changes to the pre-qualification, so I put a bill in the city council, but we are talking to DDC and to the mayor's office to change the pre-qualification process with their contractors. So that was highlighted in the meeting yesterday. And I think that's all on my end. I hope all the fathers had a great Father's Day. We hosted a series of events. We have that information in the back. And I heard there was a community leader that was speaking about sanitation earlier. If you want to come back and talk about that, I'm right here. If you want to talk about it, I heard you had something to say. Yeah, the mic's right there, and I'm here too. So I was on my way here because I was with my staff in the office trying to prepare for Juneteenth for the youth for tomorrow, because we're expecting 500 teens to come out to support them so that we can identify young people that need $5,000 to start their business. So we'll be giving out a couple of $5,000 cash prizes. So I didn't get to hear what you shared earlier, but just know I'm a hard worker. So if there's an issue with sanitation, I'm here, my staff is here, and I will address it. I've been out myself on Ocean Avenue picking up feces from adults, myself with my hands, and volunteers from my district, because we know DSNY can't do everything. So if we're out there in the streets doing that, it's because we care. If there's a particular issue, please let me know. I'm a proactive legislator and organizer and grassroots organizer. So I need you to feel free to speak to me afterwards, but I need to know what the issue was, because I'm hearing from other people and I would like to know what the issue is. But that's all I have for you, Chair Daly.
We have two questions. Actually, I have a third, but let's start with our board member.
Hi, just
State your name.
Aaron Roth.
Thank you, Mr. Roth.
Connection to-
Oh, I think you're not into the mic, so give us a little more.
You can hear me, right? In connection to two pointers you were saying about illegal businesses and regarding the library, I don't know if it's so connected, but I wanted to just bring up, maybe it could be followed up a different time. First of all, I think there's another set of illegal businesses, such as illegal car repair shops. Could any attention be given to that? Because I believe that they sometimes breed crime and illegal vehicles and a lot of other things that don't contribute to safety.
So if you could give me the locations, we've been working with NYPD on some of those illegal shops. If you give me the locations, the first iteration is enforcement that we've been doing with NYPD. And we've been asking Senator Parker's office to partner with us to see if we could get them officially shut down.
And also the second point regarding libraries, I know it's citywide budget cuts and everything, but something would make a big difference for me personally. Is there anything that could be done for libraries to be open on Sunday? Could we put in a request?
The mayor's office cuts Sundays. What we
I know
suggest,
for us, me personally, that's the day I would go with my kids to the library.
which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
We suggested to the mayor not to pick a Sunday because we know that's a very important day for families in our communities. We're about to pass a new budget, and within our acts to the mayor is to be open 7 days as we were before. I could have further conversation with you about that. If you could join us on the steps of City Hall with Culture for All. This is the organizers of all the cultural institutions in our city that is asking the mayor to keep libraries open 7 days a week.
Okay, thank you. So I'll speak to you after.
All right, thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Chair Prasad.
Good evening, June Prasad, Chair of Commerce. Councilmember, I just want to bring to your attention cannabis on wheels, illegal cannabis on wheels. There's one at the junction, Glenwood and Nasrut. Just want to bring that to your attention.
Yes, that's something that we're working on as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Chair Hill. I just wanted to comment on what you
A
said.
little louder, Chair Hill.
Just wanted to comment on what you said. While I appreciate, you and your volunteers going out and picking up the feces with your hands, that's very much appreciated and it's fantastic. But what we want and what we need is for the agencies that are supposed to be doing that, doing it.
Of course.
And we want to work together to get them to do the jobs rather than sit down and be on breaks while you're out there doing it or why people in the community have to do it. That's not the answer.
Is there a particular area that you would like for us to bring some additional attention to?
Yes. Brooklyn.
Brooklyn? If I was the borough president, I would be doing that. But if there's a key area in our district, I have an organization called ACE. What we do is deploy them within 24 to 48 hours within a particular location. So if it's dumping of furniture, we get that picked up within 24 hours. If it's anything in addition to that, you let us know and we'll make sure to deploy ACE if DSNY doesn't pick it up in time.
All right, looking forward to working with you.
Same here. Thank you so much.
All right. Can we, at that question, can we have it in the back because we need to keep going. We have a long agenda. If you don't mind, Michelle, is that okay? All right, so Councilmember Lewis, I'm not gonna ask my questions, go ahead. I just refer to her. You could just talk to her in the back.
Oh, sure.
No, I'm saying talk to her in the back.
Oh,
let
the young
Assemblymember
lady.
come up.
Yes, I'll meet you in the back right now.
All right.
Thank you.
Assemblymember Rodney Bashad.
Good evening, Committee Board 17. How are you?
Good evening.
Thank you. It's really good to see you, the chair, the board, the district manager, and all of you here, members. It's a pleasure to be here. I have been out of sight a little bit because I've been in Albany and also just graduated from law school. And so excuse me for my presence. I came from the library. I'm studying for the bar again. And so I got to make sure I pass. But that doesn't mean that the work stops in the 42nd Assembly District and Brooklyn and in Albany. So first, again, I would like to thank each and every one of you. Our Deputy Inspector was here. Thank you for all your work and keeping us safe. I first want to announce a couple of events that we're having. We're having a clergy luncheon next week, Thursday, June 27th, 11 to 2. Typically, we have the clergies come in to talk about any resources. When we typically invite an agency, this year's agency is going to be Moya, right? We're going to talk about the migrant issues that's happening in any type of immigration services that we can offer our community. That will be again at the Multi-Bridge, which is 1895 Flatbush Community Center. Again, clergy luncheon is June 27th, 11 to 2 p.m. My staff, Taisha's here, so any further information, please contact her. Also, we starting up our summer subway series. That's the retail part of our office where we basically have our office outside the subway stations so that people who don't get a chance to come to our office for any constituency services, they can come to us at the subway stations. And so that's going to start from July 15th to July 26th from 4 to 7. I know I wanted to just touch base on the smoke shops. I completely agree with Councilmember Farah Lewis. Up in Albany, the governor has instituted ways of shutting down and padlocking. It's been a big thing. Many of you know that I've been on a campaign against tobacco. Sorry for the smokers here, but you know, I've been against why am I forgetting? What do Black people like to smoke? Menthol, exactly. Menthol has been a big thing in our communities, in Black communities, killing and been the leading cause of heart disease and just all kinds of, the leading cause of death. And so ironically, these smoke shops, I don't know if the big tobacco are doing this on purpose, but they've been opening up next to my office on purpose. It's very dangerous. We are asking people to be very precautious because again, we have young kids who are going into these smoke shops. I'm sure you heard of the news about the young kid who bought marijuana Skittles, not knowing marijuana was in there, and then he had to, be rushed to the hospital. Very important that we enforce, but we want to make sure that we enforce in a way that the people are not getting convicted of crimes that we try to settle. So marijuana was a big thing. I don't know if you saw that Maryland governor had overturned all these cases, and there was 176,000 convictions that were released. So want to give it up to the Maryland governor. And so when we're trying to implement enforcement, we want to be very careful with NYPD. Okay, we want to make sure that they are not targeting, again, our community in the same fashion. Congestion pricing has been a big issue. I don't know if many of you know what's going on, but congestion pricing was to be rolled out, and the governor had made a decision to, I don't know if it's delay, but tax the businesses, raise $1 billion to cover the gap in fixing our subways. It's a very, very controversial situation, and so we're still working it out. I might have to go back to Albany. Wanted to mention about the Shirley Chisholm rec. We were yesterday with the chairman and Councilmember Farah Lewis and DDC and many other stakeholders regarding the Shirley Chisholm Recreation Center. I think many of you know that, I want to thank DDC for being here in McKissick, but the community has spoken and has been very dissatisfied with the participation rate. And so we know that there's $5 million left out of the $141 million left for bidding. And we want to make sure that we get the information and timeline out to all of you so that you know and you can share with the rest of the community opportunities to bid. We are looking at ways that DDC and the city can change their process to allow more minorities participate. The vast majority of the minority pool or MWBE were white women. As you know, DDC had selected an Australian-led company to do this project, and a women firm that's headquartered in Chicago to do the design. Very few Black contractors were selected. There were thresholds that were put in place. I don't know if it was systematic, but they were put in place to deem a lot of our own MBEs not qualified. So that was a problem. That's something that we talked about, unbundling some of these contracts so that local members and MWBEs can qualify. As the chair of the MWBE, I would have to say that I was disappointed because this was a project we really wanted to get a lot higher than the floor, the 28% or the 30%. There should have been at least, at minimum, 50% participation. It was Black people who fought for the money, Jumani Williams, Farah Lewis, myself, for a predominantly Black community in the name of a Black woman. And still we got almost nothing. Very disappointing.
One second. Let her finish the report. And if you have a question, it's not a problem to come up to the mic.
Right, and I'm gonna answer your question. So we're just trying to move forward. There's other projects that's happening across New York City. We want to definitely make an example of not to repeat the same mistake, but it's hard when you have systematic racism in our bureaucracy. Okay, there are people in our agencies who's been working there for many, many years, and they handpick people. That's not a reflection, and that's why we get stuck in a rat hole. And someone, I don't know if it was Osni, someone was talking about economic inclusion and economic empowerment. It's very tough, y'all. It's very tough. When I come in front of a board of white males, you know, they think 5% is still too much. 5%, you know, handout to Black firms is still too much. And that's why people are challenging anything dealing with diversity, whether it's our kids getting into great schools like Harvard or contracts being, you know, spread so that people can be inclusive. They are challenging us in the Supreme Court. And because of the makeup of Supreme Court, we're not winning. They're finding reasons to say it's unconstitutional to have race-based program, although we have proof of continuous racism and discrimination. So with that said, we're hoping that City Hall can learn from this, and as we project, we find other opportunities where they'll be more inclusive. And lastly, I just wanted to say, before I take your question, I just wanted to mention to the young man about the sanitation. I guess he's talking right now with Farrah Lewis. You know, it's really hard. You have to understand, we as elected officials, we can't do everything. Our communities have been ignored in terms of cleanliness. And it's not the councilwoman, it's not the assemblywoman. Again, it's systematic. There are certain communities and neighborhoods that gets more funding and they get more attention. And it's designed that way. Every day I wake up, I'm like, oh my God, you know, the streets need to be clean. We need this, we need these resources, you know? And it's really tough, it's really hard. And I think the Assemblywoman, Waterman, and Councilmember Farrah Lewis, they're doing a great job. They're fighting, but they can't solve years and years of hardship of getting our communities addressed, the concerns addressed. So I just want you to keep that in mind. We're not God, okay? We can't fix everything. And we know we can't make everybody happy, but we try to do our best. And I say, please be patient with all of us.
Okay.
Now, question.
Thank you. Ivor Wood, community member. I clearly remember before ground was broken on this project that a lot of the public representatives, our representatives, came here and spoke about all these wonderful things that were going to take place and how they were hoping or wanting to have it run and disperse the jobs to the community members. What happened? Who was in charge of the money? Who was in charge of interviewing and selecting these community workers to do to work on the project, and why did it fail? At some point, people have to be held responsible. This is a project in our community, and you're only telling me that 20% went to Black-owned companies?
Not 20%, less than that.
Even less than that, that's even worse. How is that even possible? When, who let the ball drop?
Well, let me tell you something.
And who was in charge of selecting and giving out the money to these people?
So I agree with you. And as you're outraged, I'm outraged too. Very often, they don't tell us, okay? They don't tell the elected officials what's going on. A year and a half ago to 2 years, we had a meeting, we wanted to pull the contract. We said, first of all, where is the minority-owned businesses that's gonna lead this project? This was a transition that went from de Blasio into the mayor's office. And in the process, you have to understand, you have bureaucrats who works in these agencies who have their friends, and they pick their friends. And they do it in a way that it's, well, they don't tell us. Remember, it's arm's length. No, they don't tell us. It's arm's length. You have to understand, when you're dealing
Wait,
with
I'm
contracting.
sorry, wait.
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
When you're dealing with
Wait.
contracting, you have to
Assembly
understand.
member, I'm gonna stop you. One moment. Only in that we can't do the back and forth.
Okay, but you have to understand, these agencies were there before us, okay? And when you're dealing with procurement, first of all, there's a legal aspect and ethical aspect. I cannot be in the room saying, pick this person, pick this person. I can't do that, okay? I'll get in trouble and get arrested and be on the front page. But what I could do is certainly make the community aware that this is going on.
Yeah. All right.
A lot of the information were not shared with the elected officials. You have to understand that. Okay, while we're doing everything, while we're addressing gunshots, while we're dealing with housing issue, while we're dealing with famine and sanitation, they know we're busy, they know we're going to Albany, they know we're doing a whole bunch of stuff. They take advantage of doing whatever they want to do. And there's a systematic approach because there's a whole legal and procurement process. I see Dr. Una Clarke is here and Congresswoman Clarke is here. Happy to see them. Straight up from Jamaica. So you have to understand we're outraged as well because we're like, okay, what happened? And so, again, there's a lot of things I can't control because these are people who were there before me. And systems are put in place before me. How do I change things? It's through legislation, changing policies, and making it easier to break down those barriers. Many of you know a lot of the laws that I pass, like the 1.5 million discretionary, where an agency can literally pick MWBEs without having them go through a vigorous procurement process where they know that the bidding process, they will fail, they will not get selected. So we put a program in place so that the agencies can select minority-owned businesses. And even that's a pushback. And you have to understand, every time we pass a bill, we're at the courts. We're at the courts. They're saying it's reverse racism. This is unconstitutional. You can't have race base. So, we're trying to work here.
All right.
But when these things happen, we need to make sure that these agencies are held accountable. And you all need to know. And one more thing I have to say. Sometimes I feel that I'm fighting by myself, again, because I do ask the community, give me reports, speak up, speak out. And people get scared.
I'm
People get
just gonna
scared.
take one question.
Yeah. Hello, and
We're already way behind time.
Okay.
Sorry.
So just
brief, right?
really brief, very, very brief.
Keith Watkins, thank you again. I see you in Albany all the time. Thank you. The United States Commission on Civil Rights, they could give reports as well as, if you have some people that either you're going to school with or in your good offices or, may volunteer, they could offer reports in regards to what's going on with all that money and how it's being disconnected from the community and people of color and whatnot. Also, there was a data map that was put out, the $1 million block map, which shows a data map of budgets that go into and contribute to systemic racism, like the same seven neighborhoods.
Question
produce 70% of New York State prison population. Those are the type of resources we could show people how this is affecting the community as well as like the security of the community,
Wait, I have to interrupt you. Is there a question there? Or are you giving a community session report? Do you have a question?
She said she asked the community for reports. I was like, that's
Okay, so can we have that report
Commissioner
No,
Civil
but,
Rights would
thank you, Keith. But can you just give her that report, get an email contact in her office?
Yes,
For
please.
that?
Of course.
Chair James?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I rise as a special order of business to present the resolution that was sent to all the board members with regard to this issue. In a nutshell, everyone should have received it in the email. In a nutshell, it addresses.
Wait, pause. We have a rise for special order of business that requires a second. So when she gives her report, please note that you need a second and you need 2/3 vote. Quickly.
Go, should I proceed?
Yes.
Okay, so it essentially draws attention.
Maybe you should come here. Come here.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Come here.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Did everybody read the resolution that was sent? Can we just look? No. It was about the MWBE.
Okay. Whereas the Honorable Shirley Chisholm, a Brooklyn-born politician and the first African-American woman elected to serve in the United States Congress, was a champion of equity and advocating for equal opportunities for minorities and women-owned businesses and increasing diverse representation in the workforce. And whereas African-American elected officials and legislatures, Public Advocate Jemani Williams, Council Member Farah Lewis, and Assemblywoman Rodney Bichot advocated funding for the creation of, I'm sorry, I just need to change my land, change the, 1 second here, sorry. Okay. My apologies. Just 1 quick second. The light on my, sorry. I do apologize for the light on my camera was dimmed.
Do you want to read it here?
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Whereas, thank you very much. Whereas in 2019, Mayor de Blasio allocated $141 million for the creation of the Shirley Chisholm Recreational Center in her honor and with the goal of a lead minority and women-owned business enterprise contractor for the project. And whereas on November 20, 2019, Community Board 17 voted affirmatively in support of the creation of the Shirley Chisholm Recreational Center. And whereas the Department of Design and Construction was tasked with the opportunity to contract the SCRC in fulfilling the dream of Honorable Shirley Chisholm and procuring a lead MWBE contractor and diverse workforce committee for the construction of said projects, in addition to ensuring a 30% MWBE utilization rate. And whereas Mayor Eric Adams inherited this project and his administration now has a responsibility in overseeing its completion, and whereas Lend-Lease, an Australian-based construction management firm, which is comprised of predominantly white male executives and is not an MWBE vendor, was selected and hired by DDC to be the prime contractor for Shirley Chisholm Recreational Center, contrary to public demand for diverse representation and contribution from local contractors. And whereas Studio Gang, a predominantly non-local firm from Chicago, was selected by DDC as the main architectural firm as opposed to a local vendor based in the city of New York. And whereas DDC, Studio Gang, and Lend-Lease have not fulfilled the obligation for MWB and continues to exercise a lack of transparency in meeting this commitment, as DDC has failed to identify and award the majority of top-tier contracts to local MWBEs, and MWBEs have continually been underrepresented in the design and construction phase, with a conclusion of only 6.3 and 17%. Can you ask her to scroll? Okay, just scroll.
Go ahead.
1 second, I'm almost done. Can you scroll? Okay. Whereas DDC, Studio Gang, and Lend-Lease have failed to honor Honorable Shirley Chisholm's legacy in the eyes of many members and stakeholders of this community of advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion by awarding low-tier subcontracts
with low profit margins, primarily to MWBEs, further exacerbating the disparity of this project and marring the legacy of the Honorable Shirley Chisholm. And whereas predominantly touted MWBE firms such as McKissick, 6-4 Architecture, Elizabeth Kennedy Landscape Architecture were used as fictitious and misleading examples of proper subcontracting significant roles, while MWBE construction firms have a far lower percentage of these high-tier contracts. And whereas in many instances, local minority businesses expressed being denied awareness and opportunity to participate as prime contractors in the construction of Shirley Chisholm Recreational Center, as made evidence in numerous town hall events, included but not limited to SCRC Community Advisory Board, Brooklyn College, Meet the Primes, and the groundbreaking ceremony, where follow-up to interested parties was inconsistent at best. And whereas after the release of the contract, it was agreed that Lend-Lease would partner with such MWBEs, such as long-standing Black-owned firm McKissick, to manage equally the hiring of subcontractors and operations of the project. And whereas the DDC percent for art programs advocated by Councilmember Farah Lewis to recommend and hire a local artist for the beautification of the complex was subverted by DDC and consultants, choosing a non-local artist based in Chicago with no apparent ties to the community. And whereas the city of New York has a long history of contracting that contributes to the ongoing racial and gender disparity of taxpayer-funded contracts, with DDC perpetuating a system that has made it impossible for small businesses and MWBEs to advance a petition. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Brooklyn Community Board 17, overseeing the community district where the center is located, calls on Mayor Eric Adams, DDC, Studio Gang, and Lend-Lease to honor their commitment to implement a fair and equitable process to diversify the selection and hiring of quality local MWBEs as recommended in the most recent New York State MWBE disparity study. And be it further resolved that CB 17 demand Mayor Adams, DDC Commissioner Thomas Foley, and New York City Parks Commissioner Sue Donahue immediately halt Lend-Lease awarding the remaining contracts to end Lend-Lease's discrimination against MWBE contracting firms. And be it finally resolved that the project cease and desist the furtherance of hiring any new non-MWBE contractors, subcontractors for the purpose of increasing said participation, and the Department of Design and Construction sincerely engage in identifying MWBE construction firms to award the remaining prime contracts, and a meeting with administration at City Hall and participating companies is convened immediately to strategize and implement said plan of action in order to increase diverse involvement in the project.
Can she get a second? Kwame Fresh seconds it. Is it for this month's agenda?
Yes.
Okay. In order for it to be on this month's agenda, first we have to see if we have quorum. And then we need 2/3 votes. So we're going to do 2/3 votes by show of hands. I know, that's what I'm saying. You can do it now. See if we do it now. See if we have a quorum. While she's doing the roll call, and no, but let's do the roll call first, and then we'll tally. Madam Chair, you could sit for a moment and do the roll call. If there are any board members in the vestibule, please step in. We're doing roll call.
We're about to do roll
Any
call.
board members, Assistant District Manager Faris, if there are any board members in the hall, for them to step in so we can do roll call. Thank you. I think we're close. That's why I need everybody in.
Okay, so before I begin, I just want to say if you are a board member and you are not in this auditorium, if you are online, unfortunately, I have to mark you absent. This is not my rule. This is not the board's rule. This is Borough Hall's rule. So just a reminder, if you are not in this room present today, and you're online, you are absent, period. I am sorry. Okay, I'm going to begin. Kwame Afre. Tiffany Anderson. Earl Antoine. Hassan Bakradine. Celia Berlin. Thank you. David Boatswain. Teresa Brereton. Venancia Colon. Asher Cunningham.
Present.
Roderick Daly.
Present.
Hermione Daniels. Natasha Duncan. LaShawn Freeman. Charles Galbraith. Rose Graham. Gail Grandison. Ronald Green. Michael Hill. Whitney Humphrey. I'm sorry, Whitney Humphrey? Okay. Julia James. Kevin Jason. Doris Jones. Nicole Julius. Osney Lewis. Tricia Lewison. Edith Mark. Brandon Matherin. Daniel McCabe. Donna McLean Grant. Jabril Morris. Fatima Muhammad. Khadija Uluwo. Montserrat Oni. I apologize in advance. Kadita Tu Udrago. Kadita Tu Udrago. Okay, absent. June Prasad. Deborah Pointer. Dr. Carol Renaud. Aaron Roth. Bernadette Selby. Kimberly Shelley. Tyron Stearns. Kamara Swaby. Simone Sylvester. Tamara Thomas is present. Heslak Tursun. Margaret Viglianti. Kendrick Westcott. Melanie Wilkerson. Ivor Wood. And Antoinette Smart. She was here earlier. Antoinette Smart?
We have quorum. We do have quorum.
We have quorum.
What was I saying? I'm just going to take a show of hands, just the board members. Yes.
Change to the,
It has to be done, first it has to be approved to be on this month's agenda, and then after that, you can make any amendment you want. So just by show of hands, we need a 2/3 vote. I believe we have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 34 members. If my quick math, half is what, 17? So I think we need what, what's 2/3 of 34? Yes. Oh, somebody do a quick math, this is 6% of 34, so I don't have to look at it. Please, by show of hands, if you're in favor of putting it on this month's agenda on the WMBE and the disparity in the contracts as stated by the resolution, please, by the motion, please raise your hand. We forgot what the 2/3 portion is. Let's count it. I think we have it, all right? I see Congresswoman is voting, you can't vote. You can't vote. You can't raise your hand. All right, any opposed? Any opposed? Any abstention? The motion carries. It is for this month. It is up for debate. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Just a slight, the firm I referred to is not from Chicago. It's Pittsburgh-based. And this motion is based on the fact that the community feels like we have been discriminated against. So these are the two issues.
Just want to be clear, Studio Gang is from Chicago. The artist is from Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
you did say that. You
Okay,
did say
did say so.
Oh, okay. Okay, not what I read, but okay, no problem.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And the fact is, we are expressing our feelings of what was done, of how this project was handled. Thank you.
So is there any debate on the floor to support this motion that would then go to City Hall to talk about this project? Is there any debate? Is there anybody speaking in opposition to the motion? Anybody speaking in opposition? Then I have a sense to call the question. Can I get a motion to call the question? The question has been called. Can I get a second? Second by Rose Graham. Okay. With that being said, all in favor of presenting this resolution on behalf of Community Board 17, please do so by show of hands. Again, only community members can vote. Any opposed? Any abstention? The motion carries unanimously. Let's continue. Congresswoman Clarke, you're up. Then we'll go to community session. And I think.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Executive Board, to the members of Community Board 17, to the Honorable Dr. Una S.T. Clarke, Mama, to everyone in attendance, a pleasant good evening. It's certainly my honor and my privilege to come. Let me acknowledge my Assemblywoman and Soror, Assemblywoman Rodney's Bichat Hermelin, and to all other elected and appointed officials in the room. It's very rare that I'm here in Brooklyn when community board meetings are being held. And so my staff was quick to alert me to the fact that we finally had our constellations aligned. I did want to acknowledge Rochelle O'Neill from our office, who comes to your board meetings on behalf of our office. I wanted to just stop in this evening to sort of share a few things with you. First, let me say Happy Caribbean American Heritage Month to those who are of Caribbean heritage or those who wish they were of Caribbean heritage. Let me also acknowledge Juneteenth, which we will commemorate tomorrow, Freedom Day, as many call it. And I think that that's quite appropriate because we are in an election season. And one of the things that we need to be very clear-eyed about is that there's no greater freedom in the world than a democracy. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Can I get another amen?
Amen.
There is no greater freedom in the world than a democracy. And one of the challenges that we face in this moment is whether, in fact, we embrace the value of democracy. Whether, in fact, we are empowered enough to utilize our franchise to make sure that our democracy is preserved, not only for this generation, but future generations to come. I work in a place that is extremely toxic these days. Washington, D.C. Is not very easy. We're dealing with adversaries who are not there to govern, but are there to commandeer what we hold deeply as a democracy. And when I say commandeer, I mean they would rather see us lose democratic values to uphold their own personal agendas. And we cannot let that prevail. Once we lose our freedom, it will be very hard fought to come back. And so as we enter into early voting, I want to make sure that, and I know this community board is on top of it, these members and this community is on top of it, but let us make sure that we exercise our right to vote. As the community board gathers here at SUNY Downstate, it's not lost on me that the future of this very invaluable healthcare hub remains imperiled. For years, SUNY Downstate and many healthcare heroes who supported us delivered life-changing care and assistance to the people of Brooklyn and to others from all across the city are being challenged. Every New Yorker values its contributions deeply, and we will never forget how this institution was there for our families throughout the pandemic, nor can we ever repay that debt. So let me be clear that the closure of SUNY Downstate is unthinkable and unacceptable. Can I get an amen? Y'all are oh, it's getting late, so let me hurry up, because y'all hungry. You're not in tune right now, so let me just make it happen. We must continue our advocacy and our fight to guarantee this facility, its doctors, nurses, administrative staff, healthcare professionals, and countless other individuals who define SUNY Downstate are able to continue their life-saving work. And I am committed to making sure that that is so. One of the things that I have shared with the governor's office and the governor and anyone who would hear my voice, including the New York State congressional delegation, is that Central Brooklyn deserves a world-class hospital. This is our opportunity to make that so. If Minnesota can have the Mayo Clinic, well then Central Brooklyn can have SUNY Downstate. Can I get an amen? Another issue that remains at the top of minds in my neck of the woods in Washington is the loss of the Affordable Connectivity Programs funding. Are you familiar with the ACP? This was a program that was started during the pandemic when we were all forced to go on to virtual life. And many in our community, it's an extra added expense that their budgets had never accounted for, but we had to be online. And so one of the things that we did during that time was to make sure that funds were made available to subsidize families being online and getting access, because we know that our virtual world and our physical world are intertwined at this point. There's so many services and goods and activities that take place online, and if you're not connected, you're basically, estranged from the services that we need to access. And one of the main obstacles in our efforts to overcome the digital divide is affordability. We want to make sure that we close that gap in every community across this nation. And so I have been fighting to bring funding through legislation back to this program. We have not given up hope. Right now, it's in abeyance, but I hope that your voices could be heard in bringing back the Affordable Connectivity Program. It's the biggest broadband affordability effort in our nation's history, with more than 23 million households, and I say households, not individuals, households that have relied on this for internet connection. While the ACP has lost its funding, I will not rest in my fight to restore it. Now, before I leave, I'd be remiss to be in this room with change makers of this magnitude and pedigree, not to speak on another issue that is critically important to the fabric of our nation, and that's affordable housing. Cities, once the cornerstone of the American dream, are quickly becoming too expensive to too many Americans. We saw it happening here in New York over the past decade, quite frankly. This is not something that just happened overnight. And we were really the canaries in the coal mine. When I was elected to represent you in Washington, D.C., we began to see the same phenomena happening in Washington, D.C. What was once the chocolate city is now an Oreo cookie. And so we have to be very clear that the investment that needs to be made by our nation has not been made. And we need to make sure that we align the constellations, meaning that the House of Representatives has to go blue. The Senate has to maintain being blue, and so does the White House, in order for us to make sure that we push through those investments, those 21st century investments that are required to move us in the 21st century. As we see an uptick in the disparities in housing affordability, we have to act now. And I want you to know that my bill has been reintroduced, the Affordable Housing and Area Median Income Fairness Act, which is, of course, addressing the issue of the AMI, which is becoming an issue across the nation. It's the statistic that is set by the Department of Housing and Urban Development and is used on the basis of for income caps and rent pricing associated with affordable housing. So I want you to know that as you put together your resolutions under your committee structure, your support for our efforts at the federal level to make sure that we push the affordable housing initiatives in Congress are going to be very, very important. The squeaky wheel continues to get the oil. Our communities unfortunately refuse to squeak, so I'm here to ask for you to squeak. Let me close by saying that another area that I have been championing is really for the United States to engage in assisting the nation of Haiti to restore its democracy. What is happening in Haiti right now is a travesty. And we have to, admit that the history of the relationship between the United States and Haiti has not been the healthiest one. Though Haiti has made it possible for us to have the strong United States of America that we have and their involvement with the Louisiana Purchase. So right now, we know that the United Nations has called for a security force to be deployed to Haiti to help to rein in the anarchy that is taking place there right now, give breathing room to civil society to reestablish their democratic values and an election infrastructure, as well as address the humanitarian crisis that is happening right now. People are actually on the precipice of famine, which is unspeakable in our hemisphere. So my voice has been a very loud and steady voice in saying that we must do everything we can within our power, forcing the State Department to pivot in its role and responsibility to our neighbors in the Caribbean region, in the Western Hemisphere overall. Part of the challenge that we see with the migrations that are happening around the world is that first world nations, if you will, wealthiest of the nations, are not doing their part to be really good neighbors and really good global citizens in helping to stabilize many of these regions of the world that have been forced to deal with violence and instability. So to each and every one in the room, again, out of sight is not out of mind. I'm in Washington, D.C., where you sent me to represent you, and you are the inspiration by which I go about doing my work. I am now in the 6th month of my 18th year in Congress. I know I don't look it right. Y'all digging the braids? I didn't break down, but what I did, I said that to say that as a senior member of Congress, I am now in a very strong leadership position to help us deliver on so many of the values that have been a part of my life, being raised by the village, if you will, and being in a position to be supportive of who I believe will be the next speaker of the House of Representatives, the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries, someone else who shares our values. Yes, give it up for Hakeem. I think we'll make it. But you know, we got to do everything we can to undergird and support him and his constituents as he goes around the nation to make sure that our values are solidified with like-minded people across this country. I will have a gavel should the blue team take over the House of Representatives. I will actually have two gavels, one as a subcommittee chair on the powerful Energy and Commerce Committee, the other being the chairwoman of the Congressional Black Caucus. So let me again thank you, community board leadership, community board members, for taking the time from your busy schedules to be on point and on guard for our communities. You know, this is not a paid position, but the fact that you all turn up, discuss the issues, debate them, produce resolutions, and make it possible for the quality of life of our community to be, to be comforting to the people who live in our neighborhoods is something that we are ever grateful for. Let me thank you, Chairman Rudy Daly, and the team at the table, the leadership, and all of you for having me this evening. I hope that we will have another opportunity for me to come back and share with you all of the victories that we will have in the coming months. But I will say to you that Joe Biden has really put a lot of resources in the pipeline for our nation. And a lot of what he is facing right now has to do with those who don't want to see or acknowledge the benefits that have been coming to each and every one of our communities. I find it ironic that many of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle show up for the ribbon cuttings of the new projects in their communities, but voted no for the funding to make it so. So again, thank you, each and every one of you, and I yield back, as we say in Washington,
Yes,
D.C.
so I have one question. I'm going to give you one question. Please, I'm begging you, Keith, please make it a question. Please make it a question. Yes, if it's not a question, I'm going to cut you.
Okay.
Then you talk to her outside, right? Or talk to her staff.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you again for showing up and whatnot. Keith Watkins, a second. I wanted to ask in regards to saving the hospital, if you feel as though a medical cadet corps very similar to the climate crisis corps that Joseph Biden put into legislation, if a medical cadet corps could possibly revitalize this hospital as well as bring New York State a healthcare plan. And it's
shortest answer.
Yeah.
Okay,
Short
so
answer.
I'm not as familiar with the New York State healthcare plan, but what I can say to you is that it's not an issue necessarily of personnel that has plagued SUNY Downstate. It has been the lack of investment over the years. Right, investment.
Right.
It is not just about funding. If you look at the way that the state had been pumping dollars into SUNY Upstate and SUNY Stony Brook, which also have medical schools, and you compare that with what SUNY Downstate has received, the disparity is glaring. So now the physical plan has deteriorated to the point where patient care is being imperiled. What I have done is spoken with my colleagues, including the Senate side, Senator Chuck Schumer and Senator Gillibrand, about us being able to appropriate a one-time mega deal to help undergird the redevelopment of SUNY Downstate as an institution. Like I said, I have a vision of Central Brooklyn Mayo Clinic. Part of what they have said is that at the end of the day, one of the reasons that we're struggling here is because of the high level of individuals who are using Medicaid and Medicare. And it's a self-defeating situation, because if you are not investing, then people are not going to bring private insurance to this institution. They're going to go across the river to one of the, specialty hospitals there. I think that with the proper investments, we can attract those with private insurance. We can attract all types of research and other facilities to Central Brooklyn and make our medical school, as well as this medical institution, a shining example of what can happen in an urban environment.
All right, thank you. I hate to interrupt you.
No problem.
No, but I agreed. One question you asked, two, I gave you two. I thank you. Just, her staff is right here. Okay. Sit right next to her and introduce yourself. My question, and President Biden announced, or they announced today, about the amnesty for over possibly 500,000 individuals to move towards legalization in the United States. My question to you is, if the executive order goes into play, what does that look like from your office or Congressman Hakeem Jeffries' office to this community that we represent?
So there are specific classes of individuals that this executive order covers, primarily the spouses of U.S. citizens that have been awaiting. And I believe there's another category that has to do with specialized talents and ability that are in high demand here in the United States. What that means is that for all of those cases that we have had in our offices for quite some time, Michelle, you guys speak after. We're in the same room, so when you speak, we can hear you. What I was saying is that at the end of the day, yeah, you have to turn off the camera.
Oh my God. What is that?
How to turn it off. Yeah. No, all you have to do is turn off the whole thing.
Okay?
Oh, she turned it off.
Oh, is that what you're telling me?
Well, these things happen. These things happen. Let me close by just saying this. Our offices have a backlog of individuals who have sought out our assistance in resolving their immigration matters. We will then go back into our cases to see who have presented documentation of a marriage, where we could then begin the process of getting them status. Right now, everything is on hold. As I tell people, our offices tend to be the Underground Railroad of immigration. We have to, give guidance to people who have been waiting for many years, in some cases decades, to be regularized. So that's what that will mean. It means that we will have, if it's not challenged in the courts, which it may be, because immigration is the domain of the legislative body. But President Obama was successful with his executive order around DACA, so we will see. We will see.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you all very much. Enjoy the rest of the evening, and happy Juneteenth.
How you doing? That's great. That's great. Glad to see you. Next on the agenda, community session. Community sessions, I'm actually going to shorten it for a little bit. If you are speaking, please do note, it's total 10 minutes. Don't want to use all 10. Are you a board member? I'm sorry, what's your name? You're Melanie, right? Yes, so you can't speak here. Love you to death. Community session. Yeah, that's right. All right, 3 minutes. Allison, you're giving a report on something, right?
Pardon?
You're giving a report on something, right? Come up here.
Yes.
Come up here. I'm sorry, ma'am, you're here, sir, you're here, ma'am, you're here, right behind her. But don't know if the 10 minutes is over, unfortunately, you won't be able to speak.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Allison Martinez, co-founder of Brooklyn Level Up. I wanted to just first report that we were happy and excited to be able to tour the Dutch royal couple this past Thursday through East Flatbush and some of the community on Nostrand Avenue to support some of the businesses and to go through some of the work that we do, especially environmental justice and wellness. And in light of that, I wanted to be sure that we were highlighting that we do still have a paid youth internship this summer to help test the soil in our community. So if you're interested in either promoting a young person who could get exposed to green economy jobs through that, or interested in having your soil tested at your home, we are testing 150 homes for free in conjunction with Brooklyn College and Wyckoff House. So we really want to be sure that our community is being able to measure the impact of lead, especially in our soil, since we are the third highest when it comes to lead in contaminated soil, but also one of the last bastions of Black home ownership that are interested in growing as well. So it could be unsafe. In addition to that, on this Saturday, June 22nd at 11 a.m., we are having our final Wealth Closeout Project event, which is a Health Fusion Ignite Your Wellness Expo. There will be yoga sessions in the park at Pattergate from 11 to 3, as well as massage, as well for seniors especially, and some other events. I want to make sure that people know that there's a Rainproof NYC Symposium on June 25th at John Jay College at 9:30 a.m. It's important that our community is out there learning about how we can address some of the issues we have with flooding and infrastructure, which we know plagues our community. That's our opportunities that we're missing. Then there's also a New York City Cool Roofs program where you can get your roofs painted white which will help with reducing the heat. And East Flatbush is #1 when it comes to extreme heat impact, because we don't have a lot of natural tree canopy or open space. Then lastly, we have a dance youth program called Central Brooklyn Casaneros, which will be from July 15th to the 26th from 9 to 12 p.m. On those days, it is a paid program for young people, but there will be scholarships. So there's information for that in the back as well.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, my name is Charles Raich. I'm the founder of a community facility called Town Home, and this is Simone, my assistant director. We are hoping to open something called a community facility at 3402 Clarendon. I know I look like I'm from California, but I was born and raised in the city. I've lived in the East Village and Bed-Stuy, Crown Heights, Little Senegal, back when it was actually Little Senegal. My daughter was born in Brooklyn. And today it seems like many of us have actually lost our sense of community. Community, however, is what keeps us strong in a moment of weakness, in a moment of loss or devastation, like the death of a family member or a job loss. Community is what can keep us afloat. Some of us don't have community, family, or friends to support us at a moment of weakness. And this can be the start of a downward spiral. I think many of us have seen the results of a downward spiral. Our house is called a townhome. It's meant to be a small, family-style home that gives a few people that moment to breathe at a moment of difficulty. We provide instant community support in order to prevent those spirals and keep our communities resilient. We aren't allowed to have anyone who's dangerous or violent or on substances. It's not that kind of place. We have meditation, resiliency training, group therapy, and peer therapy. We help people strengthen themselves. They stay with us for a couple of weeks and then they move back to their home. We'll have 8 people staying with us at once. Our guests must have a place to go before we take them in, so this is unfortunately not a solution to homelessness. We are paid by the insurance companies directly because even they recognize that this is a better way to help people than the current structure. And everyone is thoroughly checked and referred to us as being appropriate for our care. There will be no signage. This requires no renovations. We are long-term renting from the current owners and spending about $100,000 on food and services per year. So we're hopefully depositing instead of withdrawing wealth from the neighborhood. And of course, we'll be hiring 10 peers from right here for full-time employment. A couple of other quick points. This is called a community facility. So it's a one-family house with no signage, no renovations. Interventions like this are capable of keeping people from losing their jobs and to better manage serious changes in their lives. I think I'm supposed to open it up if anyone has any questions about the
All
facility.
right, anyone with a question? This is going to be a new mental health residence on Clarendon Road, right by New York Avenue. So 3402 New York, Clarendon Road.
34th and Clarendon.
I think it's very close to Alliance, what used to be Alliance Tabernacle over there.
Yeah, and actually our guests don't require a mental health diagnosis. To be clear on that.
All right, see no questions? You have a question? No, hold on. I'm gonna do this. I said 10 minutes. Well, I'm gonna let her talk. But if we get a question, please come up very quickly. Chair
Good evening. Chair Oni, we communicated over email. I just want to clarify who are well, one, your email said 11 beds and now you're saying 8. Is that
Yeah, it's an 11 bed, but our average will be 8 at one time.
average of 8, but maximum of 11?
Yeah.
And just to clarify for everyone, who is this facility for?
Yeah, so it's meant to be, sorry.
The facility, it's for anyone who's experiencing a mental health or a psychiatric crisis. It's an alternative to hospitalization. Some people are in crisis, but don't necessarily need to be hospitalized, but just need a place where they can get the support and learn the coping skills to move back to life. People can go back to school, people can go to work while they're staying with us.
Okay, but it's not a rehab center for people
No,
with
it's not.
substance issues?
No, it's not.
We can't accept
No, it's not.
substance.
We can't accept anyone who's a danger to themselves or others.
Okay, thank you.
Keith?
That was going to be one of my questions in regards to like them checking themselves in and then checking themselves out. And if they kill themselves or harm somebody else after they leave your care, like what's the liability in regards to that? Also, are you going to have any licensed psychiatrists as well as psychologists on call 24 hours a day at that place?
Yeah, let me address those. So this is actually not for the highest acuity folks. So people who come referred to us can't be considered violent or dangerous to themselves or others.
How can you assess that if there's not a
Another
psychiatrist
doctor
or
assesses that
psychology?
and refers them
There are going to be doctors there. You
at a hospital or at.
It's a
Wait,
referral process.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Ask, answer. Debate, not the time. Ask and answer. Go ahead. It is an important question. I do
Okay,
ask.
so it's a referral process. Our clients will be referred by a licensed psychiatrist or therapist. They would have to sign up that these people are not a danger to themselves or others. So it's not a facility where someone is just going to be walking in. It's a referral process.
Also, are there going to be doctors there in case
No,
there's some
it's the
type of
peer staff.
breakdown instead of breakthrough?
It's going to be peer staff. The staff are going to be fully trained. They're going to be licensed. They're going to be certified.
Licensed.
With clients, yes.
And we're also partnering with New York City Health and Hospitals in case there is an escalation.
Yes. Thank you.
And really quickly, you mentioned that you'll be paid by insurance companies directly. Does that mean that people will require insurance before they're admitted, or what happens if someone isn't currently insured?
Yeah, so currently we're focusing on Medicaid, which is actually administered by the insurance companies as well. But New York State just passed a law that commercial insurance also works and dual eligibles. So those are folks who have both Medicaid and Medicare.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. Next.
Yeah, sure. Good evening, I'm Reverend Dr. Williams, a pastor, Church of God here in Flatbush, Brooklyn. We've been around for 56 years. I'm also a CEO of a newly established nonprofit executive enterprise. And thirdly, I'm a clinician social worker administrator for 31 years, which is relevant to what I'm presenting today as an announcement. The American Foundation for Suicidal Prevention, New York City chapter will be presenting at our church suicidal prevention as it relates to our community. It is designed for Black and brown people. This is a rather silent pathology within our community, and we felt the need to address this. There was spiking during COVID, but we feel this is so important that we need to keep the conversation going. We have partnered with mental health clinics so that there is some after treatment if there is anyone who is in need of treatment coming to the workshop. There will be flyers in the back. We are on Eventbrite. You can log in and register. Thank you for the comment.
What's the location?
Sure.
At the time?
Sure. It is September 21st, 12 to 2. The location is 2310 Cordelia Road, a block from the former Sears. That is 2310 Cordelia Road. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening. My name is Vanessa Quashi. I'm a community resident. I want to inform you of some excellent news. I'm not here to complain. On Wednesday, June 5th, the street lights were installed on 3 of the 4 corners on Troy Avenue and Farragut Road. Plus, an additional light was installed before the entrance of the common driveway on Farragut Road. It took almost 3 decades for this request to be fulfilled in Community Board 17. This request originated from both the late Mrs. Applewhite, former Block Association representative, and my late father, Alfred S. Quashi. I know they both must have been smiling from heaven when they saw the installation of the lights on that Wednesday morning. Thank you to the collaborative efforts of Councilmember Lewis' office and Assemblymember Chandler Waterman. A huge thank you to you and your staff who assisted in getting the proper attention from DOT on this matter. It took the women to get it done.
Take a woman.
I personally spent 5 years getting the runaround with the various New York City agencies. In my humble opinion, Community Board 17 request for street lighting was never taken into account over the 3 decades. It is not that they did not fight for it, but they did not have the support and the financial resources were distributed elsewhere. Now, I just hope that DOT continues with their survey on Farragut Road because it's still dark and continue bringing more light on that dark road. Once again, thank you. It is truly appreciated that this is long overdue and this request is finally accomplished. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next.
Thank you for letting me speak, Mr. Chair. My name is Raphael Schweitzer. I am a Brooklyn resident. I was a community organizer in the Bronx for about a decade. I started out in Bronx Community Board 11, going to those meetings for many years, and I really didn't go to any other community board meetings. And there was always a lot of infighting, a lot of focus on minutia, this little thing. It tended too much towards a negative vibe, if you may. So I've been to 16 community board meetings this year. I am a citywide community activist. And as you know, it is going to be a very long meeting tonight, but I just wanted to urge all of you to stay, and I urge all of you to vote. Because of the 16 community board meetings I've been to, community board meetings should be a lot more positive, a lot more productive, a lot more vibrant. We have very active members here. So you have a chance for change tonight. So I'm just going to say vote. Thank you.
I'm sorry, vote on what? Oh. A lot of things to vote on, that's how I ask. All right, with that being said, adoption of the minutes, the May minutes. Are there any correction? Did everyone get the minutes? Did everyone get the minutes? It was supposed to be with the agenda. Let me just. 7. I'm looking myself. Was it sent out? I can't honestly say that I saw it, so I'm double checking my email on June 10th. Huh? Did anyone receive the minute? Raise your hand if you received the minutes. All right, so we're gonna have to move on and table it till September. Next, now we come to the general public hearing part of the, we have one liquor license application. Would Frontline please step forward? Chair Prasad?
Good evening, everyone. Is there a representative from Frontline Center Incorporated in the room? Just for the record, I will call the name twice. Frontline Center Incorporated, located at 765 Utica Avenue. Guess they're not here. We will proceed with the next item on the agenda. Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda, I'm actually gonna, New York City Department of Planning. Resolution. Chair Frey? New York City Department of City Planning, City of Yes. Housing opportunity. Are we holding, yes, that's what it has in the resolution, yes. Hopefully people have read the plan and they could vote whether they're in favor of it or the board can vote it down.
So I'm not presenting the City of Yes. Everybody knows that on June 6th, we had the extended meeting at the Land Use Committee meeting to further discuss the City of Yes Amendment, the housing opportunity. We didn't have a quorum at the meeting, so the Land Use Committee doesn't have a recommendation for this vote. So we're voting for or against the vote. We have the roll call. You want me to discuss 10 points, or I think that we've had the discussion? Or do we want to have any final questions?
So there was no position taken by the Land Use Committee.
Officially.
No official position. So being that there are no official position, is there anyone here from DCP to answer questions relating to?
We have them online.
Online?
So, yeah, we had them come virtually. So if there's any final questions.
Any final questions as it relates? I'm sorry, you were saying something, Ms. Martinez?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
We can't hear you. Okay, let's do that.
Okay. I didn't think that we was gonna have that discussion. That was actually in the last meeting, that was gonna be gathered via the survey, which is 45 or 50 set issues. We do have issues with the town-oriented zonings. Percentage-wise, we're against that actual, there's 10 parts to the actual thing, and I thought that we was gonna try to avoid that, but if I have to go into it, just allow me to pull it up, and we'll review the 10 areas and the areas of concern for each one. I didn't think that this was the forum for that.
I was actually trying to pull up here, Mr. Frey. Here are the city council things. Is there any discussion? I mean, the tendency is that you need to be here to present to vote. However, there is a timeline in terms of the city of yes, the city council has, did some voted on it. The bar board, Brooklyn Bar Board has not taken a position as yet on it, and they wait until September to give a position on the city of yes. Some, like I said, two board, I just said early in the meeting, two boards have already voted no. Other people have voted yes. And the city council voted yes with changes. Okay, so I've expressed one of my concerns with it, which was the parking.
I'll do a rundown across the 10 points of update.
Go ahead.
As we discuss. So point number one was centered around town-centered zoning, right? This was a application on a proposal to add additional housing above commercial districts to basically utilize that FAR or that floor area ratio. Percentages and discussions or concerns with this is against, per the survey, 88% are against it and 8% were for it, right? The other concerns were just the ramifications and the concentrations, because our district does have the ability to have this trigger along with the transit-oriented zoning, which is the next topic, right? Transit-oriented development, which would allow for proximity of 5,000 square feet within a town, within a transit entrance for development to be built. The percentages were 80% were against, 12% were for, with others specifying concerns about overcrowding or the dynamic or the diversity of the actual people that will be implementing or residing in the said residences.
Okay.
All right.
Are you speaking for or against the question? Or Chair Frey
Yeah,
or?
or for
someone from
anybody who can answer this question.
Correct.
It's my understanding that the council voted on the economic development portion of it, but they haven't voted on the housing portion.
That's correct.
Okay, so let's make that clear because I don't think that's clear to everybody.
Oh, it's
It
clear.
wasn't clear to me when you just.
I'll make that clear. On June 6th at the meeting, on that day, the city council voted in favor of the city of yes for economic opportunity at about 5 o'clock, which is a different proposal. It's the proposal we discussed in December,
Right.
I believe, until actually September until about December.
Right, so
Yeah.
housing hasn't gone through the
The
council.
housing opportunity, which we've been in discussion with for the past 3 months, has not been voted on and is what we'll be voting on tonight.
It hasn't been voted on by the council and it hasn't been voted on by us, and we're doing that tonight.
We are doing that tonight.
And when is the council going to vote on that?
Once they've gathered all of the recommendations for the community boards, then that session will be scheduled.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Did I answer that correctly?
Yes, you did. I'm sorry, before, so it is now 9:40. Thank you. 9:42. Is there any debate in favor or against City of Yes? I'm just reminding everyone on the board, this is the opportunity, it changes the dynamics. If you think it's positive or negative, this is your opportunity to speak. In favor or against, you rise in support or against?
Quick procedural question. Do we have to say yes in its entirety or in terms of each specific 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10?
I believe you can state it. If you want to state a condition for the record, I think you can do that.
Gotcha, thank you.
You can do it now, Ms. Swaby.
This one, the clarification.
Okay. Again, no debate. Therefore, can I get a motion to call the question?
Just 1 second. Let me clarify what exactly they're voting on. just so that there's a clear understanding, even though we've had the discussion, but once and final, the 10 points, I just want to speak them out so everyone understands which portions of the actual City of Yes HO we are voting on and taking our position on. I've already stated the transit oriented zoning. I've already.
Can you say it a little slower? And
the town centered zoning, I've stated. Accessory dwelling units, which we've had a discussion at length. This is for you to have the ability to add dormer to your property or turn or convert a garage at the end of single family into single family units to extend or create additional dwelling spaces.
wait, a clarifying question.
Correct.
There's a resolution on the floor about the basement apartments.
Yes. That's a separate issue.
That's a separate part. Okay, go ahead, continue.
Thank you. There's the UAP, which is the Universal Affordability Preference, which will allow buildings to add at least 20% or more to the housing if they're permanently affordable. Just gonna, for the interest of time, I'm just gonna glass over it. There's also the updates to the MIH, which is mandatory inclusionary housing, which will allow a third option, which requires 20% to be set aside for 40% EMI. I'm gonna get into those details, but at length. Number 6 would be to end the parking mandates for buildings. This would make them not be required to have the currently in place restrictions for larger buildings to have parking spaces to accommodate their residents. Number 7 was the additional expansion of city housing, which is a citywide amendment, which is the enable of the conversions of underused commercial buildings. That's citywide. Another citywide amendment was arbitrary rulings to allow smaller shared apartments. That'd be number 8. Number 9 is another citywide amendment which would eliminate barriers to contextually infill new contextual housings on site in the non-contextual districts, including campuses and irregular sites, which is a little bit wordy, but if you were at the meeting, you were able to get that clarified a little bit. And the 10th and final would be the change to the FAR, which would allow for the first time in New York's history a FAR above 12 and the creation of 3 additional zoning districts, which is the R62, and which would modify their actual FARs per, we'll change them from the current standard that are there now.
And do we have to vote on all?
You're voting on it as an entire.
As a package.
And we are coloring that response via the survey, which was discussed last month. So your participation in the survey will color your response. We'll color the response as a community board as a whole, which I'm currently in the process of drafting now. Anyone who hasn't participated in the survey, it will be open probably till week's end. And at that time, I will take that data and apply it to our decision tonight to color our response to the overall amendment and hope, which I'm hoping will reflect the data that we've collected. But at this time, it's not in favor overwhelmingly. That's all I can say.
Okay.
You're acknowledged. Hands up.
All right, so.
You can unmute yourself.
Who's that?
Yeah.
Who's that speaking?
Can't hear him.
We can't hear you, so check your audio.
It's on his end. Yeah, it's on his end. Fortunately.
So maybe you didn't click on with audio. You might have to log out and log in.
Might have to sign back out and sign in, yes.
So we're gonna vote, right? The question has been called. Unless he can come on in less than 30 seconds.
Let's not get out.
We can give him 30 seconds.
Can I know you closed the debate, but I just want to make sure that people understand that what this means. This means that we're going to have a lot more bodies, a lot more housing. But what we're not going to get is we're not going to get a lot more amenities. We're not going to get more sanitation. We're not going to get more plumbing. We're not gonna, like, these things are not going to change. We're not gonna get green spaces. We're not gonna get more schools for these bodies, okay? We're not gonna get more supermarkets. We're not gonna get, well, you know, maybe we'll get more businesses, but those businesses are going to be within you know, the people's homes. So I just want people to be like fully aware of what this means. Yes, you know, if you're a proponent of, you know, affordable housing and all that, I don't know if it's going to necessarily make housing affordable. And also, I don't know that if this does pass, it's going to be equitable, because there are still community boards that are very strong that will muscle and make sure that it doesn't happen in their community, which means vulnerable communities like our community are going to be getting more and more of this kind of stuff. And we're not getting the amenities. We're not getting more sanitation. We're not getting cleaning. Our garbages are still overflowing. We're just going to have more added to it. So I just want to make that clear before you place your vote.
I'm glad that the question was not second, so you did get an opportunity to rise in opposition to. All right, so we had one speaker in opposition to the resolution to support DCP. We had no speaker who was in favor of DCP, of the resolution on the floor. If there is no other debate, it has been explained to you. And it is now, again, we can't hear him. I see it, but we can't hear him. Somebody else, let's try that. Unfortunately, Ms. Bennett, I love to would hear from you, but unfortunately, I want to give it to DEP, DCP, or a board member. So I apologize for that, Ms. Bennett. So with that being said, nobody's at the mic. On the floor, I call the question. Can I get a motion to call the question? Motion is made by Osmond Lewis to call the question, second by Member Margaret Viante. All in favor of calling a question on the DCP resolution, please say aye. We will be taking a roll call vote on the DCP.
Just a point of clarification, Mr. Sy was just trying to clarify that we are voting on the entire proposal as a whole.
Yeah, we said that.
Whichever way the vote goes, he just hopes
It's the whole thing, yes.
specific requests from CB17 can make their way to the community board recommendations, which we plan to.
Okay. So we cannot pull out any parts, is basically what it's saying. Secretary Thomas?
Okay. So you know what we're voting on now, yes?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Kwame Afre. Tiffany Anderson.
She said no.
Burlard Antoine.
I didn't hear that. Was it yes? Yes.
Celia Boleyn. David Boatswain. Teresa Brereton. Venancia Colon. Asher Cunningham. Roderick Daly.
No.
Herminia Daniels. Not here. Natasha Duncan. Is Natasha Duncan not here?
Absent, yeah.
Okay. LaShawn Freeman. Dr. Goldbrecht is not here. Rose Graham. Gail Grandison. Ronald Green. Michael Hill. Whitney Humphrey. Whitney Humphrey, did she leave? Okay. Julia James. Kevin Jason. Doris Jones. Nicole Julius. Osney Lewis. Trisha Lewison. Edith Mark. Edith Mark?
She's not here.
Brandon Matherin. Daniel McCabe. Donna McLean-LeGrant. I'm sorry, McLean-Grant. Okay, not here anyway. Jabril Morris. Fatima Muhammad. I think Khadija is not here, or unless you are here. Montserrat Oni? No. Khadidatu?
No, she's not here.
Okay. June Prasad. Deborah Pointer. Dr. Carol Renaud. Aaron Ross.
He's not here.
Bernadette Selby. Kimberly Shelley. Tyron Stearns. Kamara Swaby. Simone Sylvester. Tamara Thomas votes no. That's a lot. Tursoon is not here. Marguerite Viglianti. Thank you. Kenrick Westcott.
What was that, Mr. Westcott? No.
Melanie Wilkerson. Ivor Wood. All right, the noes have it.
Was there one more?
Oh, I think Miss Smart. No,
Oh, Ms. Smart, but she's not here. You're right.
she's not here.
So it fails. So the motion fails. When the secretary will tally up the votes and give you the actual numbers physically. Next on the agenda, we have resolution for water taxi.
This resolution was already shared to all members, but I will read the introduction of it. And just for clarity, on the executive committee, we voted to approve this resolution, but I will read the introduction. It is, whereas in light of the recent conversations and decisions on congestion pricing, Community Board 17 recognizes the need for innovative solution to enhance transportation option, alleviate road congestion, and provide sustainable and efficient travel means for residents and visitors alike. Whereas our city is blessed with an extensive network of waterways that remain underutilized for public transportation purposes. Therefore, be it resolved that Community Board 17 proposed the development of a connected water taxi system linking key points within our city to our local airports, namely John F. Kennedy International Airport, LaGuardia Airport, and Newark Liberty International Airport. Be it further resolved that this initiative aims to achieve the following objective, and I'm just going to summarize what they are: reduce traffic congestion, environmental benefits, there will be economic growth, enhanced mobility, tourism appeal, and be it further resolved that Community Board 17 seeks the support of our elected official to transform this vision into reality by creating water transportation hubs in each of our 5 boroughs, providing water transportation services to our airports. This system will reflect our city's innovative spirit and commitment to sustainability.
If it's passed.
And so therefore, if we vote on this tonight, this resolution will be sent to our congressional representatives, our mayor, and all of our elected officials to begin conversations on creating a connected water taxi system that will simply create access to our airports, which will remove the congestion on our roadways, because a lot of the conversation has been centered around creating bus systems to the airport, but there has been no conversation about utilizing our waterways, and it will create better access for us to access all of our airports. And so therefore, since it has been voted upon, our next step is to just vote.
All right, so the motion was presented to the executive board. It was passed by the executive board, meets the requirement for the number of persons to participate. At this time, is there any debate on the resolution to lobby to have a water tax system throughout as an additional system of transportation for our New York City and local residents? Sure. So yes, it's on. So the question is, where did the resolution come from?
So yes, I created the initial idea. We had a conversation on the executive regarding this resolution.
Okay, but are there any, but it's just a resolution. There's no format in place yet for where these are going to be.
No,
where they're gonna-
the idea behind why first Vice Chair Cunningham and myself, he spoke to me about it. And we thought it was a great idea to present to the executive board, was thinking about alternative ways to get to the airport. Currently, not to create any major debate, if you go from Brooklyn and you have a flight at New York Airport, you take the transportation plus the toll and everything else is excessive. If you have a water taxi system that will allow you to go to that place, we might increase time
No,
to change differences.
I get the concept, but it's just, it's not formed, it's not a formed plan yet. So would this be like private taxis? Would it be a city?
So the idea was to open up the conversation with our elected officials, because in order for this to happen, it has to be funded by Port Authority, it has to be funded by several different.
So this is just for a conversation?
Yes, to start the conversation.
Okay, thank you.
And just to answer your question further, it would not be private taxis. That's not our idea. We're thinking about building upon the system that is already there with the New York waterway taxis to improve that system to now also focus on connecting the airports.
Okay, thank
you. Member Gibril?
In support of this proposal, I just wanted to make the comments of just noting that we do have a port by not by JFK, we have a port by Kings Plaza, and we always had Canarsie Pier, which does not get any type of love and connection from the NYC ferry. It is a huge, I just want to share it with the community. I know one of my friends over in Canarsie, he leads the Canarsie organization, Flossie, and he advocates for a ferry over there so often for like the past 2 years. And just hearing that it's spreading over here is really great. The biggest thing that he wants to promote out of that is that the economic mobility that's created from just being able to get directly into the city from Canarsie and even Kings Plaza Mill Basin alone will be such a huge development in just broadening the lives of people in the neighborhood. And that's all I wanted to share.
And just to make one last point, this will affect New York City as a whole. And when we think of the fact that when we look at people in the Bronx who probably don't have the same access as we may have directly to JFK, but when we also look at our community where for us, we do not have the access to EWR as some other people in Manhattan may. So therefore the point is open up the waterways so that we can all have equal access to the airports and also create all the other benefits that it will.
All right, thank you. Is there any other debate? Is there any other debate? See none? I have a sense to call the question. Can I get a motion to call the question? Osden Lewis calls the question. Can I get a second? Second, Mr. Gibril. All in favor of calling the question, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. Any abstention? The question is called. You want to do roll call? Let's do the roll call. I feel like we should show hands.
Kwame Afre. Tiffany Anderson, Berlard Antoine, Celia Boleyn, Teresa Brereton. Oh, she's still not here, is she? I'm sorry, David Boatswain. Venancia Colon. Asher Cunningham. Roderick Daly.
Yes.
LaShawn Freeman. Rose Graham. Gail Grandison. Ronald Green. Michael Hill. Julia James. Kevin Jason. Nicole Julius. Osney Lewis. Trisha Lewison. Daniel McCabe. Jabril Morris. Fatima Muhammad. Montserrat Oni. June Prasad. Deborah Pointer. Deborah Pointer. Dr. Carol Renaud. Kimberly Shelley. Kamara Swaby. Simone Sylvester. Tamara Thomas is voting yes. Marguerite Viglianti. Kenrick Westcott.
You didn't
Mr.
answer.
Westcott.
Yes or
That's
no?
a yes or a no? Melanie Wilkerson. Ivor Wood. Mr. Wood is gone.
All right, thank you. We really have to do the next one quickly, and after that, I'm gonna ask that I'm gonna ask that we move to have Ms. Stevenson speak, because she's been here all, you're not speaking? You wait, okay, perfect. So, go ahead.
Good evening again. New York State, very briefly, New York State proposed funding to enable homeowners who wish. This is an option. Who wish to legalize their basements. There is now a pathway to do it. There are benefits to doing it. They may have some cons against it. Every member should have received, in the interest of having as little debate as possible, everyone should have received some information about it. So I rise to present the resolution that the board votes to accept the offer by New York State to participate in the basement conversion pilot program.
All right, the motion was made at the executive board, I believe, as well, and it was passed at the executive board. So there's no need to have a second. Is there a debate on the floor? Again, for the New York pilot program to adjust your basement where possible, if you want to. Is there any debate? Question, please step forward, Member Vianci.
There are 14 others. 14 out of the 50, I don't know, 51, I don't know. I didn't pay attention.
Okay, so the 14 out of 59.
Yes,
All right.
thank you.
Is there any other questions or debate? See none, I have a sense to call the question. Can I get a motion to call the question? You get emotional with them? Can I get a second? Second, Rose Graham. All right. Madam Chair, Madam Secretary, please do the roll call vote. Madam Chair, Grandison, you're coming up now. Oh, wait, before you do that, I want to do something.
Okay, Kwame Afre. Tiffany Anderson. Berlot Antoine. Celia Berlin. David Boatswain. Venancia Colon. Asher Cunningham.
Yes.
Roderick Daly.
Yes.
LaShawn Freeman. Rose Graham. Gail Grandison. Ronald Green. Michael Hill. Julia James. Kevin Jason. Nicole Julius. Osley Lewis. Trisha Lewison. Edith Mark. Oh, sorry, not there. Daniel McKay. Jabril Morris. Fatima Mohammed. Montserrat Oni.
Just this.
June Prasad.
Those are the names.
Carol Renault. Apologize, Dr. Carol Renault. Kimberly Shelley. Tyrant Stearns. Oh, sorry, he's gone. Camera Swaby. Simone Sylvester. Tamara Thomas, yes. Marguerite Viglianti. Henrik Westcott. Melanie Wilkerson. I heard. Is Mr. Wood back? No, he's not.
That's it? All right, so I want to make a motion on the floor to close all other business except the election that is going to happen. I would like to make a motion on the floor to close all other business outside of the election. Can I get a second? Thank you. Due to the aspect of time, I think we just have enough time to do an election and quickly move on. Is there any debate to that motion? Yes. Oh, yes, I forgot. Yes, I meant to state that we'll get the result as well at the end of the election. Okay? With that being said, I now turn over the meeting to the election chair, Gail Grandison.
Thank you. Would the election committee members please come to the front? Ms. Graham, Mr. Hill, Ms. Gerlot. Yeah, I gotta put it up right now, just when they're ready. Okay, so as we start this, I have to take roll call again, just to make sure that we have quorum. I see that a number. We do?
26.
That was from the last.
No.
No, that's from the last. Okay, that shortens the process. So we do have quorum. Thank you, Mr. Frey. Yeah, I'll tell you when to share it. Yeah, yeah, you can share it, yeah, everyone. Okay, so, let's get through this process. So, only board members are allowed to vote during this process. If you are online, I'm sorry, you cannot vote. You have to be in person to vote. We're just gonna do a couple of quick housekeeping, stuff we want to get through. You are allowed, first of all, you are allowed to make nominations from the floor. We have 3 candidates which we're going to present to you. If there are other persons that you would like to nominate for any of these positions, we will give you that opportunity to do so. Only board members. Okay. As we're doing this, as I said, we currently have 3 candidates who have signed up. Yes, ma'am. It's supposed to be, yeah, no, it's not a problem. If we get to that point, we'll do it individually where everyone votes. I know people want to get out of here. So we'll try to do it, you know, preserve the integrity of the votes and that there's no confusion and anything else around. If there's only one person that is nominated or who has put their name down for that position and there are no other contenders, the election committee can declare that person the obvious winner without objection from the members. You also sent the bylaws to look through. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, please let us know. Members can ask the candidates questions. Each candidate is given 5 minutes to present themselves to the board and talk about, you know, their professions and, you know, what they will do if they become elected to the board. If you are nominated for a position or if you're running for a position, you cannot be nominated for 2 different positions at the same time. It is only once. And I'm just going to ask everyone to please be respectful in your comments or statements to the candidates or to each other as we start this process. So I'm going to ask Mr. Jabril Morris, Mr. Daly, and Ms. Omni Montserrat to please come. You have 5 minutes. I'm sorry. You just. No, there's 5 minutes in there.
Wait, hold on. Before the point of order, you go by the sheet first.
Yeah.
And become big, start the chair. And yes. Speak.
I'm just asking you to come
Yes.
to the front. That's all I did, ask you to come to the front.
On point of order.
Yes, ma'am.
There are 2 things missing. We need to request from the community, members who are not on the board, to be able to tally the votes. That needs to be done.
Yes. I'm sorry. You're correct.
And then 2, there are
3.
3 people. The proper procedure will be to call one office at a time.
I will.
already- So then why have we called the secretary and the second vice chair to the podium?
I didn't call them to the podium. I asked them to come to the front, to sit in the front, just to come down, just to come down.
That's even.
Okay, so can I
that's
get,
even inappropriate to do so.
thank you. Can I get 3 non-members from the community to help count the votes? 3 non-members, please.
Martinez.
Yeah. Is everybody in here a board member?
Everybody's a board member?
Mr. Vianti, can you come help, please? Alison?
Yeah. Mr. Tate, you're a board member. You're not? Oh. Okay, so Mr. Tate, Ms. Martinez?
Yes.
Can you go up? Oh, he's not. He's off the board. Sorry, Mr. Tate, I didn't realize you were off the board. Oh, okay. There's the three candidates.
And you got to protect us.
Okay, so we're going to start first with the chairperson. Any nominations on the floor for chair? Yes, Ms. Thomas. Ms. Prasad, do you accept the nomination? Oh, I'm sorry. Anyone seconds that? Do you accept the nomination? Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so. Yeah. You can put that. Okay, any other nominations? Going once? Any other nominations for chair? Going twice? Any other nominations for chair? Third and final time. Okay, nominations for chair is closed. Okay, nominations. You want to speak first? I'm sorry. I'm trying to rush this process. Okay, so Mr. Daly, could you please come up, give you 2 minutes, as they say, to speak? And then Ms. Prasad, 2 minutes, please come up, speak.
All right, good afternoon, good evening. And I appreciate the opportunity to have been your chair for the last 2 years. And would love to have the opportunity to complete a complete 4-year term. In my tenure as chair, I've focused on the community at large. I've focused on issues on public safety. I've focused on issues on commerce, rezoning, education. What does that look like for our youth? I also focused on making our community more visible, making the community board more approachable for our individuals. We are working diligently to improve staffing, right? We have hired a new ADM. Which is extremely efficient. We have in the process of moving forward to hire a fourth staff into the office. We've set into place many things for our community, including fighting to ensure that the NWBEs that are there, they look at us, look at our company, look at our organizations. Don't just come into a community and take away things and not provide anything. I have been involved in this community for 42 years, to be exact. Well, short of 11 days come June 29th. I have been a student, a teacher, an assistant principal, a director of programs, a business owner, a resident, and all of the capacities that you want to do. Yes, my residence is 3 blocks outside of the physical residence of this community. However, my life is in this community. Everything that I've done is in this community. I don't even think I know where the other community place is, because I believe strongly in East Flatbush. I believe strongly in rugby. I believe strongly in the areas that we're in. That's why I look at the schools. That's why I speak at the schools. That's why I address the students. That's why I create programs at Pattagate Park. That's why Ditmas Park. So adult social daycare. Why? Because this community is what I know. And this is all I know. And this is what I am proud to be a part of and have represented over the last 2 years and will continue to represent if you elect me as chair. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is June Prasad. I am the CEO of JAP Marketing and the president of East 34th Street Block Association 2002 INC. I've been a CB17 board member for 18 years, served as the commerce chair and second vice chair. I have been volunteering for the past 30 to 40 years. If I am elected, we will have shorter meetings. There is no way we should be in this auditorium at this hour of the night. I don't care what, all right? Actions speak louder than words. I just get the job done. I'm a team player. It is not an I thing, it's a we thing. I live in CB17 district area. I was actually just honored by one of my colleagues for the work I'm doing in the Commerce Committee. Like I said, I will fight. I love my community. I will fight for my community because that's when, and we women get the job done. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Ms. Prasad. Okay, so we're going to open the nominations for first. You want to vote? Okay, so you guys want to go the long way? Okay, well, okay. So in your packet, so all board members, you will see that you have 5 different slips of paper. They each have one of the positions on it. You have to name that person. So we have Ms. Prasad or Mr. Daly running for chairperson. Ms. James Scott. Thank you. It's a little lopsided. Okay. Has everyone cast their vote? Very important. Anyone else? Has everyone cast their vote? Okay, all right, let's move on. You want to tally it?
Ladies and gentlemen, if the person doesn't, let's say, if the person doesn't win that nomination, they can be nominated for the next.
Yeah.
That's why you don't.
Okay, so Sorry, the process is going to be a little longer. So okay, so we have to,
Okay. Yeah, we need to call them out. Oh, we gotta call them out?
So we can't just.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
All right. Mr. Daly? Oh,
Who's going to call it? You're going to call it,
yeah.
okay.
You can follow, that's fine.
Ms. Martinez. Ms. Martinez, are you calling?
I'll call them.
Okay.
We're gonna always start with his names, so it should start with. Fine, Afri. See how the names on the bottom. So we just go by whatever name we see. Okay. All right, LaShawn Freeman, Roderick Daly. Sorry. Just the vote. I'm sorry. I apologize. Roderick Daly. Do you want me to mark at the same time? No, it's better. Mr. Daly? Okay, Mr. Daly? That's 3 for Mr. Daly. 4 for Mr. Daly. 5 for Mr. Daly. 6 for Mr. Daly. 7 for Mr. Daly. 8 for Mr. Daly. 1 for Ms. Prasad. 2 for Ms. Prasad. 3 for Ms. Prasad. 9 for Mr. Daly. 10 for Mr. Daly. 11 for Mr. Daly. 4 for Ms. Prasad. 5 for Ms. Prasad. 1 abstain.
What? Sorry.
That's what it says.
Got the mic, what's on? Hot mic.
6 for Ms. Prasad, 7 for Ms. Prasad, 8 for Mr. Prasad, Ms. Prasad, 9 for Ms. Prasad, 10 for Ms. Prasad, 11 for Ms. Prasad, 12 for Ms. Prasad. Mm. 12 for Mr. Daly, 13 for Mr. Daly, 14 for Mr. Daly, 15 for Mr. Daly, 16 for Mr. Daly, 17 for Mr. Daly. Mr. Daly wins. Did you want me to count them again? They were, because I recounted. Yes.
So the total, again, is that 17 for Mr. Daly and 11 for Ms. Prasad?
12.
12? I'm going to recount.
$12 for Ms. Prasad, 1 abstain. Mr. Daly.
Okay, 17, Mr. Daly, 12, Ms. Prasad. Mr. Daly has been re-elected as chair. Okay, we move on to the next position. First vice chair. Now we have no one that have put their names. Wait, can I get a nomination for first vice chair? Anyone second Ms. Thomas' nomination? for first vice chair, and it was Ms. Prasad. And Ms. Omni have seconded. Ms. Prasad, do you accept? There you go. Okay. So, any other nominations? Yes. Anyone second that nomination? Ms. Omni, do you accept? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. But I thought if you're already nominated for a position, she put herself down for a position, you can't. And already running for a position? Yes, no. No pressure? No? Okay, Ms. Omni has rejected that position. Any other nominations for first vice chair? Mr. Cunningham, you don't get to say no, but hey.
Thank you for your accommodation. I decline.
He declined.
This time.
Any other nominations for first vice chair? Going once? Mr. Frey? No pressure, pressure. Mr. Frey, do you accept the nomination for first vice chair? You'd be putting people on the spot here. You can't. Decline. Okay, so second call, any nominations for first vice chair? Third and final call for any nominations for first vice chair. Okay, seeing that the only person that's been nominated for first vice chair is Ms. Prasad. We do not have to vote because there's no one, so. Well, one person to declare, to vote. Yeah, put your box in the box. Stop us. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say congratulations, Ms. Prasad, you are the first vice chair. Awesome. Okay, we move on to the next position, second vice chair. And we have for that position, Ms. Omni. She got rejected this one, right? Because that, okay, Ms. Omni. I'm going to open the floor for nominations for second vice chair. Oh, can we get a second? Ms. Thomas? There's a lot of declining in here tonight. Okay, Ms. Thomas has declined. Nominations open, going second. Nominations for second vice chair. Anyone? Third and final call for nominations for second vice chair. No one? Okay, hearing none, could we get one secretary again to vote? Ms. Omri? I'm sorry. You are officially our second vice chair. Congratulations. What's the next one? Treasurer? I think it's treasurer. Yeah. Okay, we're opening the floor for nominations for treasurer.
I nominate J.L. James. Second.
Okay, Ms. James, will you accept that nomination as treasurer? I'm sorry? Oh, we look like you should accept now. Is there any other nominations for our treasurer? She didn't. Can I get a second? Do you accept that, Mr. Lewis? Miss James? You decline? What is it with the declining in here?
Well, can I nominate?
Yes, please.
Melanie Wilkinson.
Can we get a second for Ms. Wilkerson? I didn't see, near, Mr. Morris has seconded her. Ms. Wilkerson, do you accept that nomination for treasurer?
I would like to make another nomination.
Okay, nomination second, going second time for treasurer?
Amara Swaby.
We got a second. Ms. Swaby, do you accept this nomination? Oh my God. Okay, third and final time. Okay.
Trisha.
Miss, can we get a second for Miss Lewison? Miss Lewison, the pressure is on. Do you accept the nomination for treasurer? Wait, I'm sorry. Miss Lewison, you decline. Yeah. So can you nominate her again, just for process and procedure? You want to? Okay, second. Ms. James, do you accept the nomination? Okay. Nominations for treasurer is closed. We will commence the voting. We have Mr. Lewis and we have Ms. James. You can come and give 2 minutes. Come to the podium.
I want to substitute for the first vice chair vote. You have one? Oh, no, that's the date. Yeah. That's. Good evening, everyone. My name is J.L. James. I am a CPA, I'm a lawyer, and most importantly, I have been an advocate on this board for more years than I publicly want to disclose. And I'm only here for one reason only. This is my community. God has blessed me with a lot. And because of that, I want to make sure I make paths for everyone else. So for example, the issue of the Shirley Chisholm, that stemmed from me, okay? Sometimes I have to speak up and it appears to be harsh sometimes, but it is always focused. It's never about myself doing better for me. It is always about one thing only, making sure that the interest of this community is served. One of the issues the board has is we don't have the best accountant. When we ask for numbers, we can't get them because there isn't an internal accounting system to monitor it. Very often, we have to wait until the very last minute to get requests from budgets. That's totally unnecessary. There is a better way. There is an easier way. And this is elementary accounting 101 for me. So I will assure you that if elected, that all the issues we've had with the budget in the past will disappear because we'll know practically every day what's available and what can be spent and how it's accounted for. Thank you.
Mr. Lewis?
Treasurer Lewis, again, I'm just here to help the community as best as I can. As a business owner, as a person that was predominantly in front with the Shirley Chisholm project in front, pushing for us to consistently move that forward, even in the initial, and also looking at the different things. Sometimes people might see my votes and they don't agree. But as the treasurer, I have to be impartial. We're looking at bringing in money, bringing in different opportunities in the community. Sometimes it might not be the most agreeable, but at the same time, we're trying to diversify and make sure that we fulfill the greater community at large, not just personal agendas. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Will the members please cast their votes for your choice of treasurer? Wait. It's the West. Read the bonds, read the paper.
Actually, there's another person who did the same thing. Oh, she's the one that didn't have one. Yeah, she didn't have one. See.
No, not the separate, I'm just going to yeah, stand on hold on.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna do the tally then, so I don't have to try to keep it in my head. All right.
Can I just say something while they're tallying up the votes? Please make sure that you RSVP for the event next on the 25th. All right, the committee, Wilson, Tricia Luson, and Kamara Swady. And Asha.
Julia, no, that one is, Julia didn't get her package.
So while they're tallying up the votes, please.
Julia didn't get a green package.
Please do so.
Yeah.
All right, we want for showing of everyone, because we have a special gift for everyone, not just those who, were elected. Ready?
Yes, and what event are you thinking? You talking about the town hall?
I didn't.
Right, the town hall is on the 27th.
I'm sorry. Okay.
The 27th. Okay, something else, okay. All right. 1 for Julia James, 2 for Julia James, 1 for Osney Lewis, 3 for Julia James, 2 for Osney Lewis, 4 for JL James, 5 for JL James, 6 for JL James, 7 for JL James, 8 for JL James, 9 for JL James. I'm gonna assume this is a vote for herself because I'm reading it. This for her. Okay. Okay. 2. 6. 10 for JL James, 11 for JL James, 3 for Osney Lewis, 11 for JL James, 12, sorry, that's 12. 12 for JL James, 4 for Osney Lewis, 5 for Osney Lewis, 13 for JL James, 14 for JL James, 15 for JL James, 16 for JL James, 6 for Osney Lewis, 17 for JL James, 18 for JL James, 19 for JL James. Next one for Osney Lewis. So 8 for Osney Lewis. No, it's past 6 already. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is 7, actually. 7 for Osney. No, it's 7 for Osney. I was on a 7 for Osney. Now let's recount this. 7 for Osney. 8 for Osney Lewis. 2. I need to recount this number here. 19. 19? Yep. 20 for JL James, 21 for JL James.
Is that the final count? So, Ms. James, congratulations. You are our new treasurer. We're doing a quick recount.